Happy Tuesday. For you, it's Tuesday at home. Today is Thursday for me.
Oh my gosh, we are already starting off bragging. We're already starting off bragging.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. It's Tuesday. I'll play along. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. The voice you hear, that's Carlene Bragg.
That's me. That's me.
How does it feel that it's Tuesday?
It feels like an actual Tuesday for me. So it feels like a Tuesday.
It is a wonderful day.
It is a nice day. It's a nice day.
I'll get my act together at some point.
Somehow. We need to get your act together.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying with us here on WCNC Plus. I say it all the time. Just keep your TV on WCNC Plus.
Just the background.
Something's always on.
Yeah.
Something's always on. Live Impact News. Something's always happening. One of the things that are happening, we were talking about it right before we got into the show, weather.
That's right.
I had like a glitch during the 4 p.m. show yesterday.
Oh, no.
So I said,
what kind of glitch are you talking?
I was kind of like, so I was tossing to Becca and I said,
Yep.
we're back in the 90s, and Becca.
What do you think, like 1999?
Right. Well, I could feel Becca like have that confused face, and then Jane looked at me like, back in the 90s, we never left.
Right.
And I confused it with 100s because it feels like we're back in the 100. I mean, It's not actually 100.
Sure, but it feels like it.
It feels like it, right?
Yeah.
It's really hot. I feel like we kind of had like a brief break where it felt like regular heat.
Yeah.
Now the oven is like on.
Well, it's swampy. It's swampy in here. It's swampy in here. It's swampy out there. We're living in a hot tub.
The oven is on, Carlene,
That's right.
and I'm not. I mean, I hate to be the guy to say it could be worse, but
it could be worse.
It could be worse.
It could be a lot worse.
And we just it's been a like sort of a wonky weather summer when it comes to weather.
Yep.
Rainfall, really really hot.
Yep.
We've had like 1 or 2 days where I believe like we were like right there at 80.
Yep.
Which was nice.
Oh my gosh,
I love that. Even I went for a walk this morning. And it was swampy outside.
Yeah.
I was sweating. You're gonna be mad.
Did you run?
I didn't run today. Today was a lifting day.
Gotcha.
So and tomorrow will be a running day. But I think I want to run inside tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tired of running.
Running outside. It gets to the point where
it's just
it's miserable.
It feels like I jumped in the lake.
Right.
After I get done.
Right. And you haven't even done 2 steps and you already feel
right.
like,
Yeah. Right. I'm just like
Yeah.
I just I get grossed out by my own sweat.
You know who's not gross? You know who's not gross?
Who?
Majestic Storm.
Majestic Storm is here. How are you doing, Majestic?
Anything but gross.
Good. I totally get how you feel though with the running and the sweat. It's like so muggy. I'm from Washington State, so I am not used to this type of humidity at all.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think you just got to get used to it. But then when you say something about a lake, like where you felt like you jumped in a lake, I feel like I want to jump in a lake to cool down.
Right.
But they're not that cool. They're
No.
I'm like, is this kind of like a bath or what is going on?
You go to the Atlantic Ocean, go to the beach. It's cold, still cold.
It's cooler.
Still cold. Because
Yeah.
the ocean doesn't warm up here until about August, right, Carlene?
Right. Like in
What
August.
about like a cold spring? Do they have springs here, like natural springs?
Do they?
I mean, there's like natural. There's.
I don't want to lie and say yes.
I would say like I don't know. If you go to the mountains, there's cooler water. If there's like more waterfalls, and if you go to like Slide and Rock up there in North Carolina, you got some. Maybe areas.
Maybe if somebody's watching and you know where I can actually go swimming where it's cool, let us know.
You can email her at mstorm, and I'm making an email. I don't know what you're. Okay, so look, the oven is on. I think it's going to stay on for a while. Are we going to get? We're weather alert.
We're weather alert today.
I should start with that. We're weather alert.
And here's the thing: like we've had these typical pop-up showers and thunderstorms nearly every single day, but we've decided to do weather alert today to become weather alert because we're concerned that these storms, they're going to be those slow moving storms that could ultimately lead to some flooding and flash flooding. So we're watching that. That's actually a live look outside, so it's still not too bad for your lunchtime forecast. I mean, those are just big cumulus clouds, so we'll continue to see them take over more cloud coverage later on in the afternoon, and with the clouds will come some showers and thunderstorms. Tomorrow, as you're planning ahead, still a couple of rain and storm chances. They'll be lower though, and then we're still watching for some tropical development. So let's just go ahead and look at a few of our live cameras here. This is Monroe out there, noticing more cloud coverage. It's still pretty though. It was a wet start to the morning. We actually had some rain showers. Maybe you slept in late and missed it, but now it's not bad from mid-morning, early afternoon. There's another live look out there in Dallas, Lake Norman. So if you want to beat the storms, if you want to beat the next round of rain, now still not a bad time to get outside. However, here's our satellite and radar. So kind of big picture perspective, taking a look across the Carolinas, already starting to see some activity. So some scattered rain showers, a few pop-up storms. But as we zoom it on into our viewing area, not seeing anything too significant. Perhaps up towards the mountains, seeing a little bit of activity. Now again, these storms, they'll start out very, very isolated, but I do think that as we progress throughout the afternoon, they're going to become these storms where they just dump a lot of rain in a quick amount of time. So flooding, flash flooding, that's going to be our #1 concern. So I'm zooming in just right here, just south of Morganton, starting to see a little pop up right there. And that heat and humidity, I mean, we're still bringing it today. It's not a cool day. I mean, it's cooler than yesterday, but I mean, relatively speaking, it's still going to feel like we're in the upper 90s and even some low 100s. So that all provides fuel for storms in the afternoon. And it's one of those forecasts that can be kind of deceiving. You're looking outside thinking, what storms are you talking about? They're just not here quite yet. But whenever I look at this map, this graphic here, and I'm seeing areas shaded in yellow, that automatically is some concern for flooding. So excessive rain impacts a lot of our viewing areas under this. It's a medium level risk, meaning that flooding is going to be heightened and flash flooding as well. But I also want to point out, if you're watching from a county shaded in orange, or excuse me, in green right here from Charlotte over towards Concord and Rock Hill, still be aware that these storms will be very sporadic. They'll be very scattered, even in areas shaded in gray. I think everyone, just bottom line, you need to stay aware of what's going on today in the sky, especially if you plan on being outside. So Futurecast showing you what radar could look like. Here's 2 o'clock. So this puts things into perspective, what radar could look like during this time. So I'm noticing this is not widespread. Not everyone will receive this active weather, but we've issued the WCNC Weather Alert Day because we're concerned that some neighborhoods in our viewing area will receive active weather, and we want to be sure that we're on this for you so that you're prepared for what could happen. And what could happen today is flooding, flash flooding, gusty winds, even dangerous lightning. And you know what? If it doesn't happen in your neighborhood, then great. You know, you kind of dodged that bullet because this is a severe weather threat. Here's 6 o'clock now. Pausing time, most of the activity is west of I-77, Lincolnton, Shelby, Morganton, up towards Taylorsville, and then far east of that as well. So again, very scattered, very sporadic in nature. Pausing time, one more time, there's about 10 o'clock. This is when it starts to move even a little bit closer to the Charlotte metro area. I think that really parts of Charlotte will get impacted by this. So this could be any time between 6, 10 o'clock, even for the Charlotte metro area, where you may get caught in one of these isolated storms where the rain's coming down so heavily and the storms are moving so slowly that it could make for difficult travel, especially maybe you're traveling home from work or just out on those roads a little bit later in the evening. So make sure you're just slowing it down and being cautious. And another thing when it comes to flooding is, you know, typically if you live in a flood area, flood prone area, if you do, be aware of this today, because as these slow moving storms continue to move through, we could see a fast rise in rivers, streams, creeks. We see that all the time across the Carolinas, and this seems to be a perfect setup for that. So locally, that's what we're watching. And then I just wanted to give one quick update on the tropical development. Still following this because this is a big story really nationally. The National Hurricane Center still has that 40% chance for a next tropical development to form within the next 2 to 7 days, likely Thursday and into Friday. And our tracks are showing that it could bring some impact straight into Louisiana. So still that area of low pressure, that's the system that we're watching. As it moves across Florida, it gains momentum and organization throughout the Gulf because of those warm waters, everything really coming together. So if that does happen, of course, we'll be watching that as well, but it may actually increase some of our rain chances as it kind of lifts north, and we'll get some of the remnants of it. And you can kind of see that reflected here in the 7-day. 60% chance for us. So remember, do you guys remember what 60% chance of rain means? Because people get confused.
Come on, there is a 60% chance that it's going to rain.
You just said the words.
I know.
That's why I brought it up.
There's a percentage that 60% of our area will see rain.
Good job. So it means that we're confident.
That's just said that.
60.
That's not what you said.
That's not what you said.
I kind of said that.
So we think 60% of our area will be impacted today by rain, and then we'll watch for those storms.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. You got me this time, Carly.
That's right.
If I ever quiz you again, we just can't let it happen twice. Okay?
Well, I didn't know we were going to do quiz. I wasn't mentally prepared for a quiz.
Yeah.
That's why I failed all the pop quizzes.
I know you'll get me back one day, so that's okay.
We're okay. We're going to have her back tomorrow. Yes. I'm just making up stuff right now. But no, next time we have you back, I'll be prepared mentally for this quiz because I wasn't prepared today.
And I'll also be mentally prepared next time I come here. I'll be like, all right, I have a feeling he might drop something, so gotta be on my A game.
Well, look, I got to give you credit because she did the morning show. So for her to still be mentally sharp
and
giving pop quizzes,
right.
Go to bed.
We got to keep it going. Okay, fine. I'll leave. If I must leave work, I will.
No, we love having you here. We respect your sleep.
Thank you, guys. But yeah, well, that's kind of the big story today, of course. Becca's going to be in tonight tracking the storm. So anyone that's watching, you can always just download the WCNC app too, because as the storms develop, we'll just track exactly what we're seeing. And that's always so helpful because they're so spread out. You know, not everyone gets them, but sometimes those very isolated storms could be very strong and dangerous too.
Majestic, thank you for your time. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Carlene, did you know it's a 60% chance for our area?
I did. Do you know? Because you failed that. You failed that question.
I was trying to reiterate it just so
you can remember it.
So I could own it.
If you say it 3 times, you'll probably get it.
See, you know what, Carlene? You know, see how Carlene.
It's been a minute since we've been in college.
Right.
We gotta get our study skills back.
Yeah, we do. Okay, all right. I missed this off the top of the show. Carlene reminded me right as we were getting into the show, and I still missed it.
It's okay.
That's because that's how my brain works sometimes. But we have a major announcement coming to Charlotte.
Yeah.
And this is according to sources. Sources confirm that Wednesday, tomorrow, MLS Commissioner Don Garber will be in Charlotte to announce the city as a host of the 2026 MLS All-Star Game. And that's a tweet.
Huge.
Danielle Stein tweeted that about an hour ago, a little over an hour. Yeah. Danielle Stein tweeting that. And that's according to sources. That's a big deal. You were mentioning that.
Huge deal.
I mean, it makes sense because we have grown into such a huge soccer city with Charlotte FC.
The fans have been showing out, honestly, since day one. Like, it's definitely grown and grown and grown.
I see Charlotte FC jerseys everywhere. I see more Charlotte FC jerseys than I see Panther jerseys and Hornets jerseys. Hands down. And that's no diss to the Hornets and the Panthers. Those are my teams.
But we have eyes and we see that. The facts are facts. That there's more out there.
Jeb was in here bragging a couple of days ago that he has a Charlotte FC jersey.
I have a couple.
You have a couple?
I do.
I don't have one. I would love one. I still haven't been to a match.
It's so much fun.
I do want to go.
You'd love it. The vibes are there. The music's great. The crowd's great. You'd love it.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
You're gonna go.
I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna go. But again, the major announcement tomorrow. Be on the lookout tomorrow. We're gonna work to stream this big announcement. But according to sources and according to our Danielle Stein, who tweeted, or I should say, posted this on X, that MLS Commissioner Don Garber will be in Charlotte to announce it as the host of the 2026 MLS All-Star Game. And again, that's according to sources. All right. Another story that we are keeping track of is this. That is a shot of Air Force One. So in just moments, and we're keeping an eye on this, President Donald Trump will leave, headed to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to participate in the inaugural Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation event. So he's expected to leave at some point. But again, we'll keep an eye on it. With these schedules, it's to be transparent. Sometimes they put a time there, but it could be minutes after that time.
I think he's scheduled to be in Pittsburgh at 2:30.
Yeah.
Now, given Joint Base Andrews to Pittsburgh is not that long of a flight, but we know whenever the president goes anywhere, there's a lot of security involved, something like that. So we will keep an eye on the schedule and we'll stream it when we see it.
Yeah, I mean, he's supposed to be back or leave Pittsburgh around 5:40, but again, give or take minutes. Okay, so we want to go to something live. All right, so let's head over to D.C., where there is the House Education and Workforce Committee holding a hearing titled Anti-Semitism in Higher Education. Let's take a listen in to what's being said right now.
Georgetown stemmed from our Jesuit heritage of educating youth around the world, and she amplified. She's a great example of that through her work over the decades.
But I'll repeat the question. Is the destruction of Israel something Georgetown would support?
I don't support that tweet. That tweet is not consistent with Georgetown policy. We honored her for her decades of work in access to education to the poorest children of the world.
Okay, if her remarks don't reflect the university's deepest commitments, would you consider revoking the medal?
We will not revoke the medal because the reason for the medal remains true. Her decades-long work in educating the poorest children of the world. 22 million children having education that they wouldn't have had without her work.
Chancellor Matos Rodriguez, a Jewish student withdrew from Brooklyn College after her professors repeatedly described Jews as white oppressors. They told her that Jews, therefore, had no right to speak about their history of oppression. Are Jews white oppressors?
I do not share that belief. I find the commentary entirely unacceptable, and I also find deeply disturbing that a student that was accepted to one of our schools felt that needed to do something like a transfer because of that.
DEI is fundamentally based on dividing people by the color of their skin and categorizing them on that basis as oppressor or oppressed. With that in mind, do you believe that DEI ideology makes campuses a safer place for Jewish people?
Diversity has been part of the City University of New York since its founding. We represent the diversity that we have all across our 5 boroughs. It's been one of the key elements of the DNA of CUNY since the founding of the Free Academy. So we are committed to that work of diversity, and it's been part of CUNY's work since its founding.
So are DEI programs an effective way, you would say, to address anti-Semitism?
We, in our work, when we work with students who are coming in and we teach them about the diversity of all our communities, we include anti-Semitism and the members of the Jewish community as part of that diversity effort.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. I now recognize the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Messmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Matos Rodriguez, following up on Ms. Stefanik's line of questioning from earlier, in 2021, you hired Salih Abdallah as CUNY's Chief Diversity Officer, despite her previous employment at the Council of American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. The Director of CAIR said after the October 7th attacks that he was happy to see people breaking the siege. Is CAIR an anti-Semitic organization?
Again, the comment that you describe is entirely unacceptable and inappropriate. CAIR, I don't know about their policies about being anti-Semitic or not. For the City University of New York, we do not tolerate anti-Semitism of any kind. Okay,
thank you. You previously stated that Abdallah does not handle cases directly pertaining to students and faculty, but she is the Chief Diversity Officer. Considering her background, was it appropriate to hire her to oversee CUNY's anti-discrimination efforts?
Again, that hire was not a direct hire that I made. Our commitment is that all our employees and faculty and staff abide by our policies and by our code of conduct, which would include no a tolerance for anti-Semitism. That's the conduct that we expect. And if any employee is seen to be breaking those rules, they'll be investigated and the appropriate disciplinary action will be taken.
Okay. You have said that Abdallah's work at CAIR is consistent with CUNY's commitments to inclusion and respect. Do you remain confident that she can objectively investigate anti-Semitism at CUNY?
We have had no complaints with that employee. And again, as I said before, our commitment is if any member of the CUNY community, faculty, staff, or student violates our policies, violates our code of conduct, we will investigate. We've done it, and we've taken action.
Has she been removed from any anti-Semitism investigations at this point?
Again, there was one case in which, in the petition by an individual involved, suggested, and we accommodate that individual.
Okay. Chancellor, earlier you said that only 3 of the 7 students were disciplined at CUNY for their participation in an encampment. Why were only 3 disciplined, and what kind of discipline did they receive?
Again, I cannot speak to the specific cases of discipline. We work with the district attorney's office in that case. One of the things, and they were individuals that were engaged in breaking into the administrative building at City College. As I indicated before in my testimony, the experience of that encampment is one that we've taken to heart. We have zero tolerance for encampments in CUNY right now, and we have doubled down in our efforts to make sure that our rules about time, place, and matter are clear to the students, and we've also invested heavily in additional security to be able to prevent any such situation occurring again.
Okay, thank you. Chancellor Lyons, Berkeley professor Usama Makdisi described Hamas's October 7th attack as resistance. He also reposted an article praising the determination and courage of Hamas terrorists, saying they heroically defended their homeland. Do these statements endorse violence against Jewish people?
I cannot speak to the specific elements of that. Different people have different views on that. Any call to violence or repeat of the horrific violence of October 7, in my perspective, is objectionable and unacceptable. So those that would view those remarks that way would have to take it the same way. They are unobjectionable and arguably a call to violence.
About a year after the October 7th attack, Berkeley rewarded him by naming him the inaugural chair of a new Palestinian studies program. This is one of the demands of the UC Berkeley's violent anti-Semitic encampment in April of 2024. Berkeley contributed $500,000 to this new program. I know you were not chancellor then when it was stood up, but in your view, was this decision to appease anti-Semitic violent student demonstrators wrong or right?
I can't speak to the context. I don't have the facts or the circumstances upon the making of that investment in that program. I will also say that a very similar investment was made in our Jewish studies program at the same time.
Okay, thank you. I'll yield back the rest of my time.
I thank the gentleman. I recognize the gentleman from Washington, Mr. Baumgartner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it very much pains me what has happened to higher education in America and its current status. I'm the son of a university professor. Actually, I spent a year in between WSU and Harvard teaching at the Catholic University of Mozambique, living and working with the Jesuits, so I have strong affinity for the Jesuits. But the radical leftward bent of America's higher education system has accelerated in the last 5 years has been extremely concerning. The diversity statements that you have, many college administrators have forced their faculty hires through to promote even more of a radical ideology, I think is very destructive. And I think what you're seeing from Congress these days is a representation that the American people have very much lost trust, or large segments of the American people have very much lost trust in higher education, and that trust needs to be restored. It is my belief that one of those ways that trust could be restored would be to fully account for any foreign influence or foreign spending on your college campuses. And Dr. Groves, I'd like to start with you. Does Georgetown fully account, and is Georgetown fully transparent with foreign money spent on your campus?
We certainly attempt to report all of our receipts from non-U.S. sources. One measure of that was with regard to Section 117 reporting, that there was an investigation of Georgetown along with other universities. And after months of reviewing the data we had submitted to the Department of Education, we received a letter commending us for our reporting. This is in 2021, 2022.
And can you commit right now to the American people that every dollar of foreign spending you will be transparent with?
I would be happy to commit to that.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Lyons, could you talk to us about foreign spending on University of Berkeley's campus? Do you think the American people have the right to know if foreign dollars are being spent on your campus?
We, like other universities, were very, very careful about any foreign monies that come into the university. The university is funded across many, many different sources, and we are very, very careful to vet countries of concern, as America's interests would require us to.
And you would commit to full transparency of foreign spending on your campus?
Well, as a public university, I am not ready to commit to that on the fly. There are different donors to the university who request anonymity.
Well, what do you think that says to the American people when you want to hide foreign influence on your college campus? Do you think that restores trust?
I can assure you, and what I'd be very, very happy to be very transparent about is exactly what is our process for vetting those things. We say no to a lot of foreign money, I promise you that.
Give me an example of foreign money you've said no to.
I'm not in a position to provide that information, but I'm very happy to be fully transparent.
But you could understand at a time when large segments of the American population has seen university campuses go ever farther left-wing and more radical, and there's a deep concern about foreign influence on college campuses, lack of ability for Americans, high school graduates to be able to get spots on college campuses. You could understand why it would be concerning to have a university president come before Congress and say, we don't want to be fully transparent about foreign influence.
I want to be fully transparent about the process by which we make sure that our process has integrity and that we are acting in America's best interest.
But why if the government wants to put money onto your campus, be willing to tell lawmakers, the American people, about that?
Well, my understanding is that there are, in fact, currently a lot of disclosure requirements around that, although it's not an area of my specific expertise. I think we disclose an awful lot of that information to the government currently.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you commit today to being fully transparent? Every dollar of foreign spending that takes place on your college campus, you would let the American people know about?
I am glad to bring that back with my team and consider it, but I'm not ready to make that commitment today.
I yield back, Mr. Chair.
I thank the gentleman. I recognize the gentlelady from Michigan for her 5 minutes of question, Ms. McClain.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. I want to start with you, Dr. Lyons. You're the chancellor at the University of California, Berkeley, and you've been at the university for how many years?
I was an undergraduate there and came back on the faculty just over 30 years ago.
Okay, so you've been around, you've seen a lot of things. Do you believe that Jewish students feel safe on your campus?
I believe that most Jewish students feel safe on our campus.
You think there's any that don't?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there are people that don't feel safe in lots of parts.
I'm not talking about lots of parts. I'm talking about the university in which you are in charge of. Why do you think that is?
I think there is anti-Semitism in society, and
I'm not talking about society, and I appreciate your diversion of the question. I'm talking about the university. So why do you think Jewish students don't feel safe at your university in which you're in charge of? Just curious.
Well, I think part of safety for most people is, some of it is physical, some of it is more emotional, and am I being harassed, but not necessarily being confronted with potential violence. So I've admitted already there is anti-Semitism on campus, and I think that
and I'm asking a simple question. Why do you think that is? And we've spent almost 30 seconds you avoiding the question.
Well, I do believe that public universities are reflections of society, and I believe that the anti-Semitism on society is present on our campus.
Do you believe you can influence the direction and how people feel on your university? Do you have any influence on that? Do you believe the actions that you or your staff or faculty members take have influence on that?
Yes.
I would agree. Are you committed to taking the action to making sure that all Jewish students, as well as all students, feel safe on your campus?
I am committing to striving to reach that goal, correct.
Wonderful. Okay. So just quickly, if a black student's home was vandalized with a noose and racist graffiti and a note was left saying that you're next, would you consider that an example of racism or discrimination?
On its face, personally, yes.
Wonderful. Well, in December of 2023, while you were a senior executive there, a Jewish student's home was robbed and a note was left saying, F you. They wrote out the real word. Free Palestine from the river to the sea. You think that's helpful for the Jewish students?
No.
No. What action did Berkeley take?
I believe that was predated my time, but what I can say
It
is
predated your time as chancellor, but you were there as a senior executive.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We're right here at the top of the hour, 1:02. Thank you for staying with us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. You're watching the House anti-Semitism hearing that is happening right now. We'll get back to it at some point, but we want to get to the forecast because we are weather alert today. Let's check in with meteorologist Majestic Storm with your full forecast.
As those storms continue to develop, they're just going to continue to drop some rain, perhaps a lot in a short amount of time, where the storms could continue to go over the same place over and over again. So that's why we have issued this WCNC Weather Alert Day. Not everyone will get these storms, but we want to be sure that if you do, you're prepared and ready for it. By tomorrow, those storm and rain chances, they will lower. And then looking ahead, we are still watching for some tropical development. Let's get straight to this. Our satellite and radar. First, I'm going to focus on the storm and rain chances, and then we're going to focus on that heat and humidity. Not seeing much across the Carolinas, starting to see a little bit of moisture move onshore, but for us, not a lot at this time. We will notice increasing cloud coverage as we head throughout the next several days, and then next several hours, excuse me, and then we're going to start seeing more rain showers and thunderstorms develop as we're heading into the afternoon. Now, counties shaded in yellow, you're under that medium level risk for some flooding and flash flooding today. Low end threat from areas like Chester, Rock Hill, Charlotte. Don't put your guards down, though, even if you're in a county where you don't have any of those concerns, because as those storms move in, they're going to be very, very scattered, very sporadic. So really anyone could receive them as we're heading into the next few hours. Here's 2 o'clock. This is what our futurecast could look like, what our radar could look like. So again, heavy downpours, gusty winds, watching for flooding and localized flooding. Here's 6 o'clock tonight around dinner time or so. So you may be driving home after work and get caught in one of those thunderstorms. Make sure you're really driving in caution, because as these storms produce the rain, there could be some heavy rains at times that could even just make it difficult to travel. As we're heading into that 6 o'clock hour, heading into tomorrow morning, it's going to be a quiet start to our Wednesday, a little bit more cloud coverage, and then pop-up showers and storms will be possible again, but I don't think we'll have much of a flooding concern like we do today. Let's take you out to the tropics, because we are continuing to follow this very, very carefully. The National Hurricane Center still has this big area shaded in orange here now. At least a 40% chance that we could see some tropical development now over the next 2 or 7 days. We're watching that area of low pressure just off of Florida. It's on the east coast of Florida now, but as we head throughout the next day or so, it's going to shift directions, and as it moves westward, it could bring some very tropical characteristics, and the direction in which we think it may make landfall would be out towards New Orleans, out towards at least Louisiana. Still learning more about it, but really that's what we're continuing to see as the National Hurricane Center continues to release more information. Now, over the next 7 days, about a 60% chance for rain showers today. So remember what that means. About 60% of our viewing area we think will actually receive the rain today. That opportunity for rain will drop Wednesday and Thursday, and then it will increase as we get closer to the weekend. And we may have to even bump this up more if we do see that tropical formation. Live look outside for our lunchtime forecast. Not bad right now. If you want to beat the rain and the storms, now's a good time to head outside. Temperatures are warm, though, already into the 80s. It's 85 degrees in Charlotte. And again, yesterday we topped off at 98 degrees. It was a hot day, and today we're forecasting 92, so still hot and humid. Unless you're up there in the mountains, it's going to feel pretty nice. 79 degrees in Banner Elk. Low 90s from Lenore out towards Morganton, and still holding on to much more cloud coverage today, especially this afternoon in Charlotte. 91 degrees degrees out there towards Lancaster. Once you add in that humidity, remember it's going to feel even hotter than our actual air temperature, so make sure you're mindful of that. 7-day forecast here. We are weather alert through the rest of the day as we'll be tracking those storms for you. And remember, those storms could produce that risk for flooding and flash flooding, but stay close to our weather team. We'll keep you up to date all throughout the day.
And that is a look at the full forecast. So we've been getting a lot of rain lately, not only here in the Carolinas. We dealt with that flooding there in central North Carolina last week, but across the nation. So Chris Mulcahy is breaking down these rainfall totals and what this actually means. Let's take a listen in.
Boy, have we seen a lot of rain recently. When you look at a map like this, you might not realize some of the individual values that fell. Check this out. West of New York City, you might have seen some visuals of rain that was overcoming some of the subways. Over 5 inches and less than 8 inches of rain fell west of New York City. Meanwhile, we swing to the southwest, west of Lancaster. Quite the situation, many roads underwater, where there's an estimated up to 7 inches of rain that fell there in the central parts of PA. Also, over the last 24 hours, we've had 5 to 7 inches of rain fall southwest of Kerrville, where we had the historic flooding. But if you double that across a 48 to 60 hour time frame, over 11 inches of rain has fallen in southern and southwestern Texas. Then, meanwhile, just this morning, we had over 8 inches of rain fall in Petersburg, Virginia. It was this area this morning that was under a flash flood emergency. I saw many cars that were stuck in the water where water was coming up over the windows. These are just a few examples of just over the last day where that slow moving storm, that saturated environment, is just leading the perfect scenario for flash flooding. And that's why we're weather alert today. And I need you to be weather alert really for the foreseeable future, because I think we're going to see a lot more rain events like this. Take care. I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy.
And that was a breakdown of rainfall and what we've seen, not only here in the area, but also nationwide. Kerrville, Texas, as Chris mentioned, still dealing with flooding after they got more rain this week. Central North Carolina folks in Alamance County, Orange County, Durham County, even Chatham County, which is still in the Raleigh area, still dealing with recovery efforts after the Eno River. Just one of the places there in Durham County. Just saw so much water. You saw that damage from that water and from that flood there in the area. All right. So we want to move on to a story that we are following. We've got emails. We've gotten different messages from viewers there in Gaston County over the water. This is in Kings Mountain specifically. I'm looking at a petition on change.org. The title of this petition says, "Demand safe and transparent water supply in Kings Mountain." I'm not going to read the entire thing, but just a brief overview is folks there are upset. They say the water isn't clean, isn't safe to drink. And they are concerned. They're worried about it. Again, we've been getting messages. We've been getting emails into our newsroom. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre is following this story. And I do have to mention, this comes nearly a month after we covered some water issues there in Dallas. But again, Jesse, you're in Kings Mountain. What are folks saying? Catch us up. What's happening there?
Hey, so yeah, Nick, like you mentioned, folks have reached out a couple times, several times. We've got emails about people saying that the water tasted funny and so forth. So I came out here to Kings Mountain, and I actually have a cup right here. And so like, you can see it doesn't look like there's anything wrong. It looks fine and so forth. Now, I'm not tasting it, but what folks are saying is that it has a really bad taste, but it also smells really bad, has like a weird metal smell, and that makes them feel uncomfortable with drinking it in general. And even some of the businesses that I spoke to, they're saying that they're now, some of them, offering free bottled water instead, because they want to make sure folks are able to get water without having to, deal with the concerns of the tap water. And this is the tap water we're talking about. I have another business that they said that they dropped the price for the bottled water just to make it more convenient for folks. And folks that I spoke to who live here say they do not drink the tap water, but it's not even just drinking, right? When you think of how much you're using tap water, one lady told me she wasn't even going to use it to wash her fruit today because she was worried about the fact that she feels it's unsafe. And when you're taking a shower, right? That smell, making it just unpleasant in general. Now, the city of Kings Mountain did post about this late last month, saying that the situation is because of the high heat, high water temperatures, which led to the natural algae turnover in the source water. And they're taking time to continue to treat that water, but they say that the water is safe and meets all standards, primary standards for water quality testing. Now, I did reach out to the city to see if they'll speak with us, and they said they're working on an updated statement to give out to all of us. But overall, what folks are saying is the water does not taste good. It is undrinkable. They feel like it's safe, and they feel like it's a bigger issue that needs to be taken care of. Nick?
Look, Jesse, I know you didn't get a chance to taste the water. Did you smell anything unusual? I'm asking you that because you have that cup right there.
Me, right? There's a little bit of a smell. My sense of smell is not the strongest, but I trust them. But there is a little bit of a smell to it. But I'm not a tap water drinker either, so I would be more of a bottled water drinker anyways. But folks are saying that even taking a shower, and the city said to let your water run a little bit longer, but they're saying that even that doesn't help.
Jesse Pierre tracking the water issue there in Kings Mountain. Jesse, thank you for your time there. Thank you for your reporting. Yeah, that's the issue. Again, I know Jesse broke up just a little bit, but you could hear there there is a little bit of a smell there. But again, she's working to get more information from city officials there in Kings Mountain. You can catch Jesse during our evening newscast. Let me make sure I get the right times for you guys. All right, she'll be on at 4 and 5 this evening, and then you can catch her. You can catch her then, and you can catch. Usually, our digital team does a good job of whatever we have on the stream posted on our YouTube, so you can get that recap right now. At some point, I shouldn't say right now. At some point on our YouTube. All right, so we want to turn our attention to another story that we've been following since the beginning of the week. The situation out there in Massachusetts, Fall River, Massachusetts, after a fire killed 9 people at a Fall River assisted living facility there, and that's in the Boston, Massachusetts area. 9 people were killed and around 30 taken to local hospitals when the fire broke out at the Gabriel House assisted living facility there in Fall River on Sunday night. So many questions surrounding this tragedy. We've got updates in the morning, the afternoon, and the evening. We just got an update from officials, fire officials. They're giving an update right now. We wanted to take it to the beginning, and because we missed the beginning part, and we don't want you to miss all that has transpired in this news conference. So let's take a listen in there in Fall River.
Somerset is in proper care. We've gotten a lot of requests for fundraisers. There's been a lot of fundraisers that have popped out, and a lot of people, there's a lot of generosity and love being shared with the city of Fall River and the people who suffered so much the other night. We ask that you utilize the city's Facebook page, Fall River Government, for a list of where and how to donate to organizations that have reached out to the city and that the city is working with. You should be aware that public record requests through the Code Enforcement Division will start to be released today. I just forwarded 3 years of inspectional reports from that facility from our Fire Prevention Bureau to the legal department, and those should be released ASAP, hopefully by today. And for anything else, I suggest that you call the mayor's office at 324-2600. And they'll be able to answer any other questions or provide anything else. I plan on doing this daily. If there's information, if you want to show up, I'll come out and give you whatever I can get. But in the meantime, that's what I have for you. And I'm happy to answer any questions that I can that I didn't already address.
Mr. Response, Chief, to what came out yesterday from the firefighters union regarding bodies for apparatus, firefighters for apparatus, what do you guys not understand?
Yeah, I don't think this isn't a Fall River alone issue. This is any municipal fire chief who's in a community the size of Fall River, with the economic conditions of the city, is always begging for more manpower, right? And I know the mayor released a statement yesterday. I think that was that he just released, I don't know about the timing, but whether you've read it or not, he just released an updated statement, updating his remarks from yesterday. I met with him this morning, and he is aware that since the very first meeting that I had with him, I've been advocating for more firefighters in the city of Fall River to make the job safer. The current model that we have is less firefighters and more overtime, and that's worked for us, but it's also working our firefighters to the bone, and it's going to lead to more injuries, and it's going to lead to more issues down the road. So the mayor, recently we put in for a SAFER grant, and in that SAFER grant, in the narrative for that SAFER grant that we submitted a month ago, it says that we're going to try to put a 4th firefighter on Engine 2 and Engine 9 in the city to increase 4 firefighters on 4 apparatus. That's something that I worked with. It's not the number that I was hoping for. I was shooting for a home run and trying to get 4 across the city and increase our manpower. But that's not a reality in a city like Fall River, where you have to work within the confines of the budget. The 4 on every apparatus, the union and the city can work that out. My job is to try to do that balancing act and work with what the city gives me for a budget and equip the firefighters as best I can for them to do the job safely.
How many firefighters were there yesterday? Do you think you had enough? Or on Sunday night, do you think you had enough firefighters?
See, that's a trick. You could have had 100 firefighters show up on that scene and it wouldn't have been enough, right? So when you have a scene like that, you can't plan your staffing based on a 40-year worst case incident, right? There's nobody that could do that. But I'm proud of the 35 firefighters that showed up. I can't disagree with the union's assertion that if there were more firefighters there, that we could have done things more efficiently and better. I don't know if it would have saved lives. That's speculation. The fact of the matter, the world that I live in with facts, is absolutely. If you gave me 8 more firefighters on that scene, we're throwing more ladders. We're effecting more rescues more efficiently. That's a fact. I don't know if lives could have been saved or would have changed the incident at all. I'm focusing my firefighters on the 50+ lives that were saved at that incident based on their heroic efforts. And that's what I need to focus on for my mental health and their mental health to get through this.
Are there changes you want to make moving forward in how you respond to issues like this?
I'm sorry?
Are there changes you want to make moving forward in how the department responds to emergencies of this scale?
Absolutely. And while increasing manpower is a conversation that I will love to have at an appropriate time, I just want to focus more on what the actions were done the other night and the families that were affected by that tragedy. It's absolutely something that I plan on addressing at the appropriate time.
Chief, as far as your department is concerned, there are sprinklers in that building. So
absolutely.
Working, wouldn't that put the fire out pretty quickly?
So sprinklers aren't designed to put a fire out. A lot of what you see in the movies is just made for movies. Sprinklers are designed to hold a fire back so that we can come and put the fire out. But a proper working sprinkler system would hold the fire back. Absolutely.
Chief, as far as your... Is that what happened Sunday night?
I can't comment on that. That's part of the investigation. I would contact Jake Wark on that.
As far as your department is concerned, what role did the staff on hand play in getting people out of the building that night?
The staff on hand went above and beyond and did more work than they absolutely should have been asked to do. They worked themselves harder than they should have had to. That's my opinion. But the work that they did saved a ton of lives on that call.
Were there enough staff on hand that night, in your opinion? And if there had been more staff on hand, would that have helped in this emergency situation?
There's sufficient staffing in this city for our day-to-day operations. For an event like that, you can never have enough staffing. But like I said, if you had more staff there, then yes, things would have happened more efficiently and quickly.
You talking about the CNAs? Were there,
Oh, you're talking about the staff in the building?
Staff in the building, yes.
Yeah.
CNAs on staff?
I can't speak to that. I'm not really sure. I would contact Jake Wark on that.
You said that 7 residents were still yet to be assisted at the Canal Center. Do you know
Correct.
how many have already been relocated to different assisted living facilities?
I do not have that number. I'll get that, and maybe we can release that to everybody. I'll get that number.
I know
Yeah, absolutely. So the morning after, before the guys left work at 7:30, peer support was in the stations to kind of just assess what was going on, assess the mood. I think I've said that I encouraged all the firefighters on the scene that night to go back to the station and talk about it. I think that's the best thing that they can do and the best way to process it. It's unfathomable. It's not something that they're going to be able to process easily, but we want to make sure they have the tools to be able to do it. So tomorrow that shift is back at work for the first time. We got a lot on their plate to try to start piecing the strategies and tactics from that call together, but also peer support will be there to continue to monitor that situation and see if we can identify people that might need some more help and encourage them to get it.
Where are the nature of the building? Are they focused on the building, or do you work with the staff? They also do drilling. Is there an evacuation plan, and do you find that was lax in the inspection?
No, I think that our inspections require them to have an evacuation plan and fire drills, and we would hold them to that and hold them to giving us dates when those were performed.
Can you say the nature of the building at that? Were there any windows that were permanently blocked? You know, trickiness of...
I would say that's going to be part of the inspectional services report, and I would contact Jake Wark on that.
Where in the building were the deceased victims located?
My understanding is they were throughout the building, mainly focused on the east side, but throughout the building.
Is there any reason for that?
Just location of the fire and smoke.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you know exactly where the fire was sparked? You know, when people were doing, was it a room, like a kitchen? Where was it?
I would contact Jake Wark on that.
If you who called 911, was it residents in the building itself, or was it the staff?
We're working on getting the 911 tapes. I know that the very first notification was made through the box alarm, through the automatic alarm system. My understanding is that police arrived on scene and gave the next update. I don't know about 911 calls, but that's something that that we're working on getting the tapes and figuring that out.
So you said you applied for a grant for 2 firefighters, but a home run would be what?
Negative. So we applied for a grant for 5. With the understanding that we would be getting 5 firefighters back from an EMS fire truck that is currently staffed. So that would be 10 firefighters to be able to put a 4th firefighter on engine 2 and a 4th firefighter on engine 9. I've been vocal about that at city council meetings, at my budget hearings, that I think 15 to 20 would have been a home run for a grant. But I also understand that we need to do this in a way that's sustainable once the grant's done. FEMA doesn't want to give you money to hire 20 firefighters and lay off 30 in 3 years when the grant's done. So I will advocate for the most that I can get, and then I work with what the city works with me with.
Do you think that the city is safe considering the level of staffing right now?
Absolutely.
How about in terms of, I know you can't talk about the investigation in particular, but how is the investigation or how's it proceeding? Can you talk a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a very time-consuming process the night of the fire to interview all of the witnesses. That's the very first stage of the investigation. Once the fire was out, they got to go inside and start to do some of the nuts and bolts stuff with origin and cause. And I think right now, it's really putting together, compiling that information, and really making sense of everything. And that's going to take some time because of the amount of information. It's my staff in conjunction with the Department of Fire Services. I do not know. I would ask Jake Wark. These are all great questions for Jake.
In addition to the 35 Fall River firefighters that responded, how many firefighters from surrounding cities and towns responded and helped in a situation like this? Is there more that can be done to bring in outside firefighters?
Yeah, absolutely. So we recalled 30 firefighters. So at the peak of the scene, we had 65 firefighters on scene. Obviously, many of them were there too late to effect any rescues. But they were called in because of the amount of effort that was put in by the original firefighters, so we could get them back in their trucks, back to quarters, and get some rest while we had other firefighters, fresh firefighters on scene to continue the work. Our mutual aid partners in Fall River, we call in. They do a lot of station coverage for us. We certainly will be looking into whether it was more appropriate for them to go directly to the scene at that fire, but that's something that will come as part of our incident analysis starting tomorrow.
What cities and towns did they come from?
All the surrounding communities, so Tiverton, Somerset, Westport, I believe Freetown.
How about the folks who died? Do you know, was it all smoke relations?
I don't know that. That's Jake Wark again.
Do you know the monetary value of how much damage the building was?
I do not.
Contacting other assisted living facilities in the city to find some plans to make sure that
I think everything's on the table as a result of this, but it's going to take time for us to get to that. You know, we kind of have our plate full right now, and that's probably a function of the legislature and more of a statewide thing, because this any issue that was at that building in Fall River is an issue that's at every one of those buildings in the state. So. You know, I think I'm an advocate for safety. So anything we can do to prevent something like that happening again from a safety standpoint, I would say should be on the table and discussed. I do not. I just keep getting the update that they remain in critical condition. One more question.
To your knowledge, did the staff on hand at the facility follow protocol to get people out?
I don't have their protocol. I'm not prepared to answer that. Thank you, everyone.
All right, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. That press conference there in Fall River, Massachusetts, just wrapping up. That is a live look at President Donald Trump. I believe he just landed there in Pennsylvania. Okay. I'm sorry. He is about to leave Joint Base Andrews. Okay. He's about to leave. Thank you, Carlene. This is why we have Carlene. This is why we have good producers here. President Trump is boarding Air Force One. So he is flying to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to participate in the inaugural Pennsylvania Energy and Innovation event in Pittsburgh. But you see there, President Trump boarding Air Force One, leaving Joint Base Andrews to travel to Pittsburgh. Timeline. So he is set to speak at 2:30, so in about an hour. Again, this times can be adjusted, but that's when he's expected to speak. 5:40 is when he is expected to leave Pittsburgh, and he actually spoke with reporters moments before boarding. I'm looking at it right now. We'll look to turn that around for you, if we can get that. Okay, Jeb is working to get that sound to you. So we're working to get that. But again, you can see it. That's a live look at Joint Base Andrews, Air Force One, as President Trump. Okay, here we go. This is him speaking moments ago. Let's take a listen in.
No, we're not looking to do that.
Mr. President, why are you giving Mr. Putin 50 additional days to prosecute this war against?
Oh, I don't think 50 days is very long. And it could be sooner than that. I don't think 50 days is very long.
Mr. President,
you should have asked that same question to Biden. Why did he get us into this war? You should ask that question. Yeah, and what did he tell you? Why did he get us into this war? You know why he got us in? Because he's a dummy, that's why. And you don't cover it right. But you should be asking that question to Biden. Why did he get us into this war? Because he's incompetent. It would have never happened if I were president. So we made a deal with Indonesia. I spoke to their really great president, very popular, very strong, smart. And we made the deal. We have full access to Indonesia, everything. As you know, Indonesia is very strong on copper. But we have full access to everything. We will pay no tariffs. So they are giving us access into Indonesia, which we never had. That's probably the biggest part of the deal. And the other part is they are going to pay 19%, and we are going to pay nothing. I think it's a good deal for both parties. But we will have full access into Indonesia. And we have a couple of those deals that are going to be announced. India basically is working along that same line. We're going to have access into India. And you have to understand, we had no access into any of these countries. Our people couldn't go in. And now we're getting access because of what we're doing with the tariffs. So they're paying 19%, and we are not paying anything. And they're going to give us full access into Indonesia. Now, Indonesia has some great product, and they also have some very valuable earths and various other materials. One of the things, as you know, they're known for is very high-quality copper, which we'll be using.
Mr. President, Texas, sir. Do you believe your tariffs might have led inflation to increase last month? Do you think they had any role?
Well, we had very little inflation. I don't know. Who do you work for?
USA Today.
What?
USA Today.
Oh, well, they wrote me a beautiful article the other day, so I can't get angry at you. USA Today just wrote a very good article about me. What's that all about? So I can't get angry at you.
I'm Texas, sir.
No, there was very little inflation, as you know. The numbers were very good, very much inside the margin. So we've had no inflation. All we have is we're making a fortune. We are taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. You saw we had a surplus of $25 billion last month, which we haven't had in many, many years.
Mr. President. Sir, on Texas. Mr. President.
We are doing because I'm able to do it. Nobody else would be able to do it. We have tariffs going on because we want tariffs and we want the money coming into the United States. But more important than the money, there's two aspects of tariff. There's the money, which comes in. The other aspect is that rather than paying the tariffs, the country or the company will build in the United States, make their product in the United States, and that creates jobs. And I would say of the two, probably the more important to me is that. Yeah.
Sir, on Texas. Are you on Ukraine's side now?
No, I'm on nobody's side. I'm on no.
Why?
I want to. You know what the side I'm on? Humanity's side. I want to stop the killing of thousands of people a week. I want to stop the killing. I want the killing to stop in the Ukraine-Russia war. That's the side I'm on.
Mr. President, your daughter-in-law said that there should be transparency in the Epstein case. Do you agree with her, sir?
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job, and I think that when you look at it, you'll understand that. I would like to see that also, but I think the Attorney General, the credibility is very important, and you want credible evidence for something like that. And I think the Attorney General has handled it very well.
How many more
The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
On what? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi
A
briefed you on that.
very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, you know, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release.
On Texas, how many more seats do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
And then what if California, New York, Illinois, and other blue states
well,
decide
that's
to do
okay
this?
too, but 5. I think we get 5. And there could be some other states. We're going to get another 3 or 4 or 5 in addition. Texas would be the biggest one, and
So
that'll be 5.
are you calling in for a complete redrawing of the congressional map ahead of next year?
Just a very simple redrawing. We pick up 5 seats. But we have a couple of other states where we'll pick up seats also.
What's your tariff rate for the EU?
When was the last time you spoke with him?
Well, when he was in my office.
What did you tell him when he was in your office?
I told him he's doing a very bad job. He's way late. That's why I call him too late. Jerome Powell is too late. He's way late. Interest rates should be coming down. We have a very, very successful country. We should have the lowest interest rate anywhere in the world, and we don't. Jerome Powell has done a terrible job, and frankly, I don't think he could do a worse job. He's called everything wrong. So they had a report come out the other day, 71 different economists, and me. You know who was right? Me.
Mr. President.
Did you know that? I was right.
I did know, Mr. President. Are you going to appoint Mr. Powell to another term as Fed chair?
You must be kidding. You must be kidding.
Mr. President, what are your thoughts on Andrew
That's a funny
Cuomo?
one coming. You had to waste the question like No, we are talking to the EU, and we're making progress. But look, you know, we already have a deal with the EU. It's called the letter that was sent out. I think it was 30%. That's the EU. But we, at the same time, we are talking.
Andrew Cuomo.
No, go ahead.
Well, Mr. President, your reaction to Andrew Cuomo staying in the New York City mayor's race. Andrew Cuomo staying in the New York City mayor's race.
I think he should stay. I think he has a shot.
Would you prefer him over...
Well, I don't want to say. You know, I'm a Republican. He's a Democrat or an independent. No, I think Andrew would have a good shot of winning. He's got to run a tough campaign. He's running against the communists. I would think that he would have a good shot of winning.
Tell us about your trip to Scotland, sir. What are you going to do on your trip to Scotland?
We're going to be meeting with the British Prime Minister, very respected, and we are going to have a meeting with him probably in Aberdeen, and we're going to do a lot of different things, and we're going to also read the trade deal that we've made. So we'll be meeting mostly with the, at probably one of my properties, or maybe not, depending on what happens, but we'll be in Aberdeen in Scotland, meeting with the Prime Minister.
Mr. President, do you have a message for the EU if they retaliate for your tariffs?
Well, I don't know how they can retaliate. You know, they've made a lot of money. They've treated us very badly, but now they're treating us very nicely. And I think we'll end up, I think everybody's going to be happy with the EU.
What's your preferred tariff? Is there any plans to meet with Pope Leo in the near future, sir?
Not a plan. I would do it. I have a lot of respect. I really like his brother. His brother is a major, serious Trumper. You know that. He's MAGA all the way. I like the Pope's brother, and I think I'd like the Pope. But the Pope's brother lives in Florida. I met him, and he is MAGA. He's got MAGA signs all over the house. He likes Trump, and I like him.
Mr. President, what's the latest on Iran?
How about you?
Iran.
Well, we're going to see what happens with President Putin. So far, I've been very disappointed with President Putin. I've solved a lot of wars in the last 3 months, but I haven't gotten this one yet. This is a Biden war. It's not a Trump war. I'm here to try and get us out of that mess. Any messages for what? Yeah, go ahead. Do I have a what? For the people of Brazil? Are you from Brazil? He's going to trial now, right?
Yes.
When is that trial starting? When is the trial for Bolsonaro starting? When is it? How is it going?
Now they are asking him to find him guilty.
But they haven't found him guilty, have they?
But what do you think?
But have they found him guilty? No. Look, President Bolsonaro is a good man. I've gotten to know a lot of prime ministers and presidents and kings and queens. And I know him, and I'm pretty good at this. President Bolsonaro is not a dishonest man. He loves the people of Brazil. He fought hard for the people of Brazil. He negotiated trade deals against me for the people of Brazil, and he was very tough. And he was tough because he wanted to do a good deal for his country. He was not a dishonest man. And I believe it's a witch hunt, and it shouldn't be happening. And it's not that I know him that, look, he's not like a friend of mine. He's somebody that I know. And I know him as a representative of millions of people, Brazilians. They're great people. And he loves the country, and he fought hard for those people, and they want to put him in jail. And I think that's a witch hunt, and I think it's very unfortunate. And nobody's happy with what Brazil is doing, because Bolsonaro was a respected president. Very respected.
Mr. President. You want Adam Schiff brought to justice.
I would love to see him brought to justice. I'll tell you what, I think Adam Schiff is one of the lowest of the low. I would love to see him brought to justice. He's a dishonest, crooked guy. I don't know about the individual charge, if that even happens. But Adam Schiff is a serious lowlife.
And tomorrow morning here in Washington, AOC is hosting for breakfast.
Adam Schiff, I believe.
I'd love to be. I'd really love to go. I mean, I look forward to meeting them both. I know them both very well through what I read and through what I see. Look, he's a communist. I don't think our country is ready for a communist, but we're going to see. And I don't think that race is over yet either. You do have a couple of people running against, and it'll be an interesting thing. Things are coming out about him which aren't good. And, AOC, look, I think she's very nice, but she's very low IQ. And we really don't need low IQ. Between her and Crockett, we're going to give them both an IQ test to see who comes out best. Now, I took my test. I took a real test at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I aced it. I got every one of all those questions right. Now it's time for them to take the test. Anyway, have a good time. I like Dan Bongino, yeah.
Do you think putting respect to your picture
All right, so that was President Trump just moments ago outside of the White House before departing for Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We actually took you there live at Joint Base Andrews as he was leaving for Pittsburgh, boarding Air Force One. So he's going to be in Pittsburgh with Senator David McCormick of Pennsylvania, and they will jointly announce roughly $70 billion of energy investments in the state today as the president is traveling to Pittsburgh for a conference with dozens of top executives to promote his energy and technology agenda. So again, that was President Trump earlier outside of the White House before leaving for Pittsburgh. All right, so we want to shift now to a story that we're following. So Festival Colombiano Multicultural will celebrate Hispanic culture in Uptown Saturday, the 19th. So what can you expect? Family-friendly environment aimed at celebrating Colombian heritage and other Hispanic cultures. You're talking about live music, performances, and markets, and a lot of food. However, there are concerns surrounding ICE. So WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris is there digging into those concerns and has more for us. Let's check in with Miles.
Hey guys, Miles Harris here, WCNC Charlotte. We are at First Ward Park here in Uptown, and while it looks pretty empty for the most part, this place will hopefully be packed come Saturday as they are getting set to host the annual Festival Colombiano event. Now there is a whole lot of excitement when it comes to the opportunity to celebrate the tradition and the culture surrounding the Colombian culture, but there are honestly a couple of reservations when it comes to how this can be operated because of the recent immigration enforcement activity when it comes to being around the Charlotte area. So I got a chance to talk to not just the organizers, but also one of the sponsors in Camino about this upcoming event. And while they understand the reservation from potential attendees at this event, they also are really pushing for people to come out here and not only enjoy themselves in celebrating that tradition and culture, because they understand how important and how impactful the Latino community is out here in areas like Charlotte, but they also want people to not really be hesitant and to grow into fear and to not celebrating events like this as well. They work well with law enforcement. Actually, Sheriff McFadden is a big advocate for this event and plans to be there as well as far as part of their promotions as well, and they're hoping that community members take part in doing so as well. So again, this event is happening on Saturday. We'll see if there's any changes when it comes to any law enforcement actions, things of that nature, but hey, they are looking forward to seeing people in the Charlotte community coming out to really celebrate the tradition when it comes to Festival Colombiano this Saturday.
All right, so that is Miles Harris. He's following that story. You can catch him at 4:30 on our 4:30 newscast. So catch up. Make sure you check out that story. We want to take you now to where do we want to go? I know we have a couple of things that we're looking at, Carlene. Should we take them to? You said is that Alabama? Correct. Okay, so I did notice that a civil rights attorney, Ben Crump, on the podium. I don't have the information in front of me. Okay, so Carlene's going to send me that information. Let's take a live look. This is the press conference. Here we go. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, so here we go. All right, the family of Jabari Peoples and attorney Ben Crump released independent autopsy findings, as according to the NBC affiliate there in Birmingham, Alabama. The family of Jabari Peoples and civil rights attorney Ben Crump are presenting the preliminary findings of an independent autopsy. The autopsy was commissioned last month following, I actually was commissioned following last month's shooting, actually on June 23rd, a police shooting that killed the 18-year-old Jabari Peoples at Homewood Soccer Park. Let's take a listen in to what attorneys, advocates, and the family of Jabari Peoples are saying at this moment. Let's take a listen in.
All of that, the cost, the moving of the body, the emotional distress of all of that,
my Lord,
we probably didn't need that. But we're looking for answers, and so that's why we're here today, is to try to find some answers. And as the attorneys for this family, it hurts us too that we can't give them more answers.
yeah.
And as your community, I know that you're hurting too.
We all will.
You need the answers, right? This is your community. These are your people, right? You stand together. You need the answers too. And frankly, all of America, they need the answers. What happened? And show the video.
Thank you, Attorney Park. Deandra Peoples, his first cousin wanted to say something.
I just wanted to say on behalf of the family, we greatly appreciate the outpour of love that we've been receiving from the community and everyone that know Jabari and that don't know Jabari. And also just want to speak on the fact that Homewood Police Department nor Aaliyah have been in contact with the family even as from day one. They did not reach out. So it's just heartbreaking that it feel like we have been showed no respect. The day it happened, we spent literally all day looking and to speak with someone, so our last resort was to call the news to get answers. Would no one speak with us, Homewood Police Department nor Aaliyah. They closed the door on us. Aaliyah finally reached out to my uncle and aunt Vivian and William after they made the Facebook post was made. So it's just almost 24 hours later, and here it is 3 weeks later, and we're still asking for answers from Aaliyah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. Yeah, this family has been through it and they still standing, so thank God. Are there any final questions? Yes, sir.
Two quick questions. Who did the independent autopsy, and were there any other findings, any other wounds on the body?
All right, this is the most important.
At this point, we're not able to tell you who it is. We can tell you it's an Atlanta medical examiner that's highly qualified. It will be, if the video is shown to us and it doesn't vindicate whoever did the shooting, it will be shown and she will testify.
And were there any other wounds?
There were, but we thought this was the most significant wound because we know that none of the other wounds caused death.
Can you give us any details about the other wounds?
I won't want to speculate. When their autopsy is released, we'll have her do her complete autopsy, and we will release it to the press. Okay? Yes, sir.
I just want some clarity on who's responsible for releasing the video. Is it the Homewood or is it the state?
You know, that's why we're in. Yeah, that's why we're in court now. I'll let Attorney Barganier and Attorney Maxwell speak to that.
Right, and so our petition, we're asking for Homewood. With the rules with this petition, you can only file it against folks who could be possible defendants. We know that this is a Homewood officer, Homewood involved shooting, right? And so we're asking Homewood, we know that they have multiple pieces of evidence outlined in our complaint, in our petition, and we're asking for that to be released. Now, Homewood is obviously saying they need permission from Aaliyah, but that's why we're going to the court, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the judge has the controlling say in that.
Thank you. That's why we have good local counsel who know all the Alabama rules. Attorney Barganier?
No, I think Leroy hit it right on the head. When you file a lawsuit, that's the process of getting into the courthouse, getting in front of a judge so somebody can make a ruling. This statute's been around for, I guess, a few years now, And I don't know if we have much clarity as far as case law from our Supreme Court as it relates to interpreting the statute. But something as preliminary as showing a video to the family, which the statute does allow, show the video, right?
What I would say is, if this was one of our friends, this officer, or whoever it was preliminarily, and there was a video that made him free of all this, would we not show that video?
Exactly.
And, 3 weeks, we've all lost loved ones, and we put them in the ground, and that's where they belong, with God. 3 weeks, and they couldn't get their son in the ground? That is the saddest thing I've seen.
Thank you. In conclusion, it just goes without saying that it's so hypocritical when you think about it. Because if this was somebody in our community and they had did something inappropriate or committed a crime, they would have released it. It'll be all over the evening news. And they wouldn't come up with no excuse talking about, well, we got to wait, it's pending an investigation. No. When people in our community are alleged to have committed a crime, it's everywhere. Why do we have two sets of rules when the police kill one of us that it's delay? I often suspect that that's part of the modus operandi, that delay until people forget about Jabari Peoples. Well, we're not going to forget about Jabari Peoples. We're going to stand with Jabari Peoples. We're going to get justice for Jabari Peoples. Justice for Jabari Peoples.
A friend. We need at least two friends to say something about their friend. And too many times you have these press conferences we go on, but there are hurting hearts and friends. There's a friend that sticks closer than a sister or brother. So let's just make that room. I personally need some fire in my engine. Going up and down that road, a big Aliceville, right in front of me as I was leaving Aliceville. A big motorcycle turned over right in front of me. I had to help a lady on this huge motorcycle and call and do all that. This is coming straight out of the funeral down there. Then about 3 miles away, a big deer ran right in front of me. All these things happening. That is satanic far as I'm concerned. But you're not going to prohibit it. So I need some friends like me that call me and to demand they come. So I would need to hear from these friends, because they the one. I don't want no 10 toes down. I want 10 toes up. You're not running if your toes down. You're getting it. Ask the bar. He'll tell you. He won a lot of those races by those toes. So two of you stand on your toes and let this audience feel what you feel. And great pastors, thank you guys for coming in such a short notice. Y'all already know the assignment, because y'all was in the battle. Y'all was in the battle. Well, battle's right there. That's Brother Battle. That's one of the top Martin Luther King's men right there. Very quiet. Stand a minute. Stand a minute. Yeah. He's a battle axe. When you go to where the kneeling preachers are kneeling in the park, that's one of them. Quiet, shy, but a fight.
Amen.
And a stand. So let's do that. Let's stand. Let's do what we got to do. And they don't want what we gonna bring if we bring it. Every march we've had of late, in my years before whatever they retired, that's like retire your tire, get 4 new tires, retire. But I didn't take them. I got them back. And we gonna have to unloose, possibly, what we should have done long ago. When they killed little girl Coleman, let her hang over there in that jail by themselves and say she hung herself. No way. Chaplain, I'm sorry. She was Kendra Coleman. And the other woman, don't forget about the one who wore the black and red, the evangelist. that the police throwed her down in the Walmart, or whatever it was. What was it? Talk to me. Mary Johnson, an evangelist with her daughter. And they jumped any black person that had red and black on here in Homewood. Ain't no home in these woods right now. Ain't no home in these woods. And we're not playing this time. But anyway, I'm very much through. I just had to ad-lib that because we missed points that give us the drive and the appreciation we have to exemplify and not be overlooked when we got to carry the package. All right, thank you, Ben.
Thank you to Frank, and thank you to Black Lives Matter. Thank you to the clergy. Thank you to all the community leaders and all the activists who are standing up with this family, because we know if they quit saying his name, they will sweep him under the rug. So say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Thank you all very much. We will continue to keep you updated as we get more information. God bless you all.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. We are approaching the top of the hour. That is a live look from Homewood, Alabama, in the Birmingham, Alabama area. A press conference just wrapping up there. It looked like the shot froze, so I got off of it. But the family of Jabari Peoples and civil rights attorney Ben Crump presenting the preliminary findings of an independent autopsy. Now, that autopsy was commissioned following the June 23rd police shooting that killed the 18-year-old Jabari Peoples at Homewood Soccer Park. So again, that press conference just wrapping up there. Let's shift gears for a second. We want to turn our attention now to Hickory, where we are following a drive-by shooting there. So one person has died after a drive-by shooting in Hickory on Monday night. It happened at the Keating Point Apartments at 2nd Street Northeast in Hickory. That's where we find WCNC Charlotte's Bria Smith. So Bria, you're out there in Hickory again today. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Nick. Well, we actually were at the Keating Point apartment complex a few hours ago. Currently, we're at the Hickory Police Department, and I'll just say, just to describe the scene there, it was a pretty somber feeling being in that neighborhood. We did have the chance to speak to some neighbors, and I had the chance to speak to Kimarian Peterson's best friend, who says him and the neighbors pretty much say that that neighborhood isn't really quiet. But I took a look around. I did get the chance to see there was like writing on this big dumpster trash can, and it looked like children were writing it. A lot of "I love yous," and there was even kind of like this hut, and on the inside it had what Kimarian's aunt called or referred to him as Mari written on the inside. So while it wasn't maybe a quiet neighborhood, it did seem very tight knit, and you know, people are just devastated by this news.
All right, so Bria, do police, law enforcement, have they found a suspect? Do they have any suspect information in this case?
Yeah, so they're still working to get that information. I actually just did speak with people with the police department, still looking for a suspect. They do not have any leads there, but it is an ongoing investigation, so they're working to kind of piece this unfortunate case together, Nick.
It's Bria Smith there in Hickory, following up on that deadly drive-by shooting there in Hickory. You can catch her at 5 and 6 o'clock this evening. Bria, thank you for your time there. And again, that's the shooting that we are following up. Again, you heard there, she spoke to family, neighbors, and reaching out to police just to get some more information on this case. All right, so we are approaching the top of the hour, 1:59 to be exact, Carlene.
Means it's weather time.
It's weather time. You know how we do at top of the hour, weather time. We're also weather alert today. We were weather alert 3 times last week.
Mm-hmm. Heat and storm.
So this is the first, heat and storm. So rinse and repeat, same thing today. Let's check in with meteorologist Majestic Storm with the forecast.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and today is a WCNC weather alert day because we're watching this afternoon and this evening for the potential for a few storms to form, and we're concerned that these storms, they won't be like our typical afternoon summertime storms, but they could be bigger, stronger, and slow moving, or perhaps even going over the same place over and over again, which means they could be training. Bottom line is that we're concerned we could see some flooding, even flash flooding. So we're going to break down when we could see it, who could see it. Tomorrow, those rain and storm chances, they'll still be there, but they will be lower. And then taking a look ahead, tropical development, we have our eyes on that as we're heading throughout the next couple of days to the south of us. Now, whenever I'm looking at this graphic and I see pockets shaded in yellow, I do become a bit concerned for the overall risk for flooding. And you can see most of our viewing area, we're at least under a low to medium level risk for flooding. So if you're watching from a county shaded in yellow, we really have our eyes on you. That means from Gastonia up towards Morganton, Taylorsville, Boone. But even for areas shaded in this green, that low end risk doesn't mean that the risk is zero. So everyone, I think you need to just stay aware of what's going on as we're heading throughout the next few hours. Now you're going to notice more cloud coverage roll through, and I really think anytime after about 2 o'clock this afternoon, we could see a stronger storm form, and we could even see some of that flooding. Temperatures today still going to get warm, and it's still going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, even some low 100-degree temperatures, and that combination of heat and humidity, it is fuel for those possible storms. Now, this is what radar could look like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Heavy downpours will be possible and actually quite likely. Notice, though, here's 4 o'clock. This is not widespread. This is not like everyone's going to receive the rain, but we want to make sure that if a neighborhood does get impacted by even 1 or 2 storms, that we're on it for you and that you're prepared and ready for what's to come. And again, we're concerned that there could be some flooding concerns and risks with this. So dinner time and after, you may still be impacted with this active weather. Here's 10 o'clock, still a few isolated storms popping up even across the Charlotte metro area. Then waking up tomorrow morning for our Wednesday, we should be fine, starting out with cloudy conditions, but that active weather and the potential for flooding should be over. Want to give you an update on the tropics. We are following this very carefully. We're watching this area of low pressure. It's off the east coast of Florida, expected to track west. As it does so, it really starts to develop and these characteristics that could become tropical in the Gulf. And the National Hurricane Center now has a 40% chance of development over the next 2 to 7 days. So you can see it. Here it goes as it continues to track west. It forms organization and it starts to really rotate. And then really a lot of our models are indicating that it could impact Louisiana over the next 2 to 7 days. Rain chances for us, 60%. They'll go down over the next couple of days and then increase again on Saturday. And again, yesterday we topped off at 98 degrees. Today we are forecasting 92, so another hot and humid day. But remember, that acts like fuel when we have a forecast like this. 78 degrees today in Blowing Rock, 90 for our good friends out in Lenoir. As we're heading towards Charlotte metro area, 92 in Gastonia and Lincolnton, 87 up towards Statesville. 92 in Rock Hill, low 90s out towards Monroe and Chesterfield. And yeah, there is still a little time out there throughout the day to get outside and enjoy the mild conditions before those scattered showers and storms arrive. And you better believe there will be places where you don't even receive any rain. There's the next 10 days. It's going to get hot, especially by Friday, nearing 100 degrees. But each day in our 7-day forecast, we do have at least chances for showers and storms. So stay close to the WCNC weather team.
And that is a look at the forecast. Okay, I'm throwing in sort of a what do you call it? Oh man, I had it at the tip of my tongue. Of when you're at the line of scrimmage, Jeb, and then you call a audible. I'm calling an audible. Okay, we were going to go to something, but we had mentioned this earlier. I know I'm playing a lot of inside baseball right now, but let me set it up. So we got an announcement in 203. Thank you for staying with us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Nick Sertivant, Carlene, Jeb. Jeb is here.
Jeb's here.
Jeb is our Charlotte FC MLS expert, and I really do mean that. Jeb has an incredible knowledge of the sport.
Big fan.
Big fan. So we have an announcement. Daniel Stein tweeted this today. And this is according to sources. Sources confirmed this information. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, MLS Commissioner Don Garber will be in Charlotte to announce it as a host of the 2026 MLS All-Star Game. Again, sources confirm there's an announcement tomorrow. Jeb, can you give us a breakdown of what this means from your perspective as a fan?
Well, I think it's exciting for the city, and I think it's a testament to how much Charlotte has grown as a soccer destination. I'll tell you, I was in Minneapolis for the All-Star Game in 22, and the way that soccer, it was St. Paul technically, but Minneapolis, St. Paul, the way that soccer took over the Twin Cities, I mean, it was so special. It's not just the All-Star Game. They have really built it out kind of like the MLB's All-Star Show.
Yeah.
So there are skills competitions, there are youth clinics, there are food trucks and events. So I'm really excited to see what the Queen City can bring to the All-Star Game and what the All-Star Game will bring to the Queen City. I mean, I think there's a good chance there'll be a good Charlotte contingent. You know, the coach of whatever team will be Dean Smith, hopefully, will be coaching the All-Star Game. So really excited to see what that will look like in Charlotte next year.
Is it like a traditional All-Star Game, so like East versus West Conference?
That's a good question. So it's a little different in the MLS. So the way the MLS All-Star Game works is it's the best players in Major League Soccer compete against the best players from the Mexican Soccer League. So it is really a head-to-head of which league's all-star best players can compete against one another. It's really, really cool. I mean, I believe it's the only American sport that does that. So you really get to see some real star power because the Mexican Soccer League has some of the best players in the world. I mean, we saw how well they competed they just dominated the CONCACAF Champions League. You know, they had a good showing in the FIFA Club World Cup. So seeing how those stars compare against the stars in the United States is a good benchmark for how far the Major League Soccer has grown.
When we talk about the fan experience, what is that like? If I've never been to an All-Star Game, even though I know what the NBA All-Star Game consists of, or like the MLB All-Star.
That's going on right now.
Going on right now in Atlanta. What is that fan experience like?
It's amazing, and I will tell you. So when we were there, the MLS essentially descends like a cloud over the city, like a cloud of rainbows and unicorns. They do food drives with the community. They go out, they volunteer. They offer sports clinics for youth soccer players to get involved in. They have different kind of events. So I'm thinking like buses you can practice your shooting on, and they bring goals and soccer balls to play on. Nice. They'll bring out players, both current and former, to kind of do meet and greets across the city. They'll have little pop-ups. All these podcasters and quote-unquote Major League Soccer influencers come to the city. And it really is a week-long party celebrating everything that is soccer. And if you've been to a Charlotte FC game, you know that is going to be really well received here. So I cannot wait to see what that looks like here.
I got an idea.
Yeah.
Live Impact News, live at MLS All-Star
From
Weekend.
the bank, let's do it.
I'm for it.
Charlotte FC, if you're listening.
Yeah, we'll do it. I mean, we've had a few members on the show. Like let's get it going.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Okay. One last question. I know I threw it audible in here.
Sure.
I felt like we had to get this segment in. We had to get Jeb's take on this.
I appreciate it.
So we were talking about the culture of Charlotte FC, how in its short time here it's grown so much. Like I see more Charlotte FC jerseys than I do Panther 100%. And I do Hornets jerseys. What does this say as far as like the culture of Charlotte FC here in the area?
Well, I think Charlotte is in such an interesting point in its history, especially athletically with the sports. You have people moving here so often. You have 100 people moving here a day. And I think one of the challenges for a lot of the local sports teams is if you're coming from another place, you probably already have a football team, a basketball team, and not saying you're not going to support the Panthers and Hornets, but you might have a team you support a little more. And if you go to a game, you might be going recreationally. A lot of people who are moving to the city don't necessarily have a Major League Soccer club.
Right.
So I think so many of the people who are moving to the city are galvanizing around this team because it's the first authentically local experience they can have that is their team, is a team they love. So I think that's part of the reason this team has really connected with the city in a way that some of the other teams have struggled with. The other thing is they're winning. You know, they've had a rocky couple of games, but they're back to winning ways. Yeah. They've got talent. They've got financial backing. They have a phenomenal facility. They sell at the bank. They have a great stadium. the team's outreach has been fantastic. So
right there in Uptown.
It's amazing. The tailgates are amazing.
Are
I
great.
encourage everyone, if you have an opportunity, to just walk through the tailgates the close to the stadium. I mean, it is a really, really neat experience that they have cultivated for folks here in the Queen City.
It's a fun time.
When you say that, you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of when the Panthers first got to Charlotte, right? And so people could say, hey, I remember when the Panthers came into town. Like, we could trace that. Like, so there are a lot of legacy franchises.
You hold it in. How many football fans know? I mean, how many people can say that when I was here when the team got here?
Right. And same thing with soccer. So, like, I don't know a Green Bay Packer fan that could say, hey, I remember the first Green Bay Packer game.
There probably aren't a whole. I mean, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. And so soccer fans, they could say, I remember when Charlotte FC was this and that. And I can remember when the All-Star game came here to Charlotte.
Right.
So, man, it's pretty cool. I'm excited. I still got to go to a match.
Oh, it's amazing. They are so much fun.
It's very
I
hype.
know what I'm
The
doing.
music's great.
Yep.
Like
I want to go.
Like a party.
And I feel bad because I was in Atlanta when Atlanta United was really like, I mean, it still is a big deal, but like we're not.
They
really,
were. I mean, that was a huge. That set the bar.
That 2018 to 2020.
Oh, I had friends there too that said it was
Almiron,
lit. Yeah.
Joseph Martinez. I mean, that was
amazing. And I was like, nothing can top this. But then I see the bank, and I'm like, oh man,
the bank on a
Charlotte
night,
FC.
the bank on a sellout night is unlike anything you've ever seen. I mean, it is crazy.
I would love for y'all, because Carlene maybe has experienced this, and I know I'm shifting sports, but when the Panthers are good at Bank of America Stadium, it's good. None other. I don't know if you remember the Cam Newton days, if you were following the Panthers during the Cam Newton days.
I mean, I followed it because obviously it's close to home or whatever, but I wasn't here for it. I don't remember where
Did you get a chance to come to a game?
I didn't get a chance to go to a game, but I had friends who cheered on Top Cats at that time, and they got to go to the Super Bowl, and they said it was, I mean, it's the time of your life.
Standing room only.
Yeah.
I can't
you
imagine.
cannot sit down.
We're on our way back.
On the way back. So I would love to have that experience plus Charlotte FC experience.
I think just really quickly, I think we are about, and I really do believe this, if you look at the Hornets in the Summer League, you look at these off-season moves for the Panthers, you look at what Charlotte FC is doing, there is a reasonable expectation I think Charlotte fans should have that we could be entering a golden age of Charlotte sports. Now, people are going to clown me. I'm going to be clipped on Nick Sturdivant's Instagram for making a crazy take. But I genuinely...
clipped him on TikTok, and did
they come after
They
him?
came after him.
Yeah, I know. But I genuinely believe that there's an exciting time and I'm not saying the teams are going to be amazing, but I think they're going to be fun to watch. And I think right now that's the start. That's what Kansas City was before they were dynasty. Like that's how you start it. So I think
you got to start somewhere.
Sell out sporting events. I'm calling it right now. July 15th. Charlotte, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great season all across the board.
That's a good comp. Kansas City, really cool city, and a lot of the focus is on the
Power
downtown area.
District, beautiful.
Yes. All right. Great break. Appreciate you, Deb.
That's what I'm here for.
Come on, man.
Right.
So you can catch Deb. He's here all day.
He's here all the time.
Literally here all day.
He's all the time.
All right, so we want to shift now. I see Attorney General Pam Bondi there at a press conference. Let's take you there. This is the Take Back America press conference that's happening. Let's take a listen in. She just got to the podium.
And she's in the District of Virginia, and she does amazing work, and she is paying it forward by looking out for other victims and their families and fighting this epidemic throughout our country. Thank you, Chelsea, for being here with us. Over the 4th of July weekend, DEA agents executed successful operations throughout this country, one in Columbia, South Carolina, where they seized 71 kilos of fentanyl and 20 kilos of methamphetamine. This is very near the University of South Carolina, where dealers, we all know, often target college kids. They put these drugs in pill forms to go after our kids. This includes a seizure in Fresno, California, also 4th of July weekend. Acting Director Murphy is going to get into details about these, but this is why this is so important, and this is something new that I hadn't seen. 24 pounds of carfentanil disguised as real prescription pills. Carfentanil, we all know, is even stronger than fentanyl. They often call it the elephant tranquilizer. And it was carfentanil in prescription pills to look like oxycodone. That should terrify every parent in this country. In many cases, illegal aliens are doing the work of cartels in our communities. In one recent example, just 2 weeks ago, the DEA arrested an illegal alien sitting in the front passenger seat of a trailer truck that contained over 700 pounds of methamphetamine. 700 pounds. Something else I hadn't seen, they are now putting methamphetamine in a pill form. First time we've seen that. A pill form. Now, a pill form of methamphetamine might not kill you instantly, but it can get you so addicted to meth that it can destroy your life instantly. DOJ attorneys will continue to prosecute these violent criminals, and they're all violent. If you are dealing in these drugs to Americans, to any citizen in this world, you're a violent criminal, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Since January 20th, DEA has been removing this poison from our streets at a historic rate. They've seized over 44 million fentanyl pills, over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl powder, over 64,000 pounds of methamphetamine, 64,000. Nearly totaling the same amount that was seized in all of 2024. 541,000 pounds of cocaine. And what they're doing, they just take a little fentanyl and lace it in that cocaine, which is how Chelsea lost her brother. We will not rest until these FTOs are eliminated, their members are prosecuted or deported, and the public is safe again. Thanks to President Trump, we're able to take the handcuffs off our law enforcement officers, our great men and women at DEA who are out there every single day risking their lives to protect us and to protect our families. One Big Beautiful Bill enhances our law enforcement capabilities by also including money for technology that will help our agents catch these criminals. And they're getting so sophisticated. And Acting Director Murphy is going to explain to you, I've never seen anything like this either in my entire career as a prosecutor, how sophisticated they are in smuggling these drugs into our country. Now, I'm going to let him explain that to you with a truckload of cucumbers that came into our country. In addition to One Big Beautiful Bill, the Halt Fentanyl Act that was passed through Congress is now headed to the White House. That will help us because it analogs. Previously, these drugs that were coming into our country, they would change the precursors as fast as they can so they wouldn't be illegal coming into our country. No longer with the Halt Fentanyl Act. Also now, if a criminal is in possession of 100 grams or more of any fentanyl-related substance, they will face 10 years in prison minimum. President Trump, the Department of Justice, and the great men and women at the DEA will continue to fight to make America safe again. We will fight from Tampa to the Twin Cities, from Nassau County to the Golden Coast, and I can't wait for you to hear these recent cases that were just made. And to the Angel families and our incredible Angel sister who lost two brothers to drugs, and everyone affected by fentanyl, know that every day we will be out there fighting for you and your loved ones. The most important reminder we can give you here today, to high school kids, to college kids, to parents, to talk to your kids. Do not buy, take, accept any drug, any prescription drug from anyone off the street, even if it's a friend. Do not accept it. This is why. This is a real Adderall pill. This is a fake Adderall pill. You can't tell the difference. These are laced with drugs that could kill you. Over here, the oxycodone, the fake ones and the real ones. This is what was seized in Fresno, California. In Fresno, right?
Yes.
Amounts that could kill so many of our high school and college kids. They think that buying this on the street corner won't hurt them, but it will, and it can kill you. And that's why they're targeting places close to our universities as well. I'm going to let Acting Director Murphy now fill you in on all the details of these very, very important arrests that were made just within the last couple weeks. Thank you all for your attention to this very important matter.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. Men and women of the DEA lead the fight against the Mexican cartels. These cartels are responsible for the manufacturing, the smuggling, and the distribution, and then the subsequent collection of the money, because that's what's driving this problem is profit, and making sure that money makes it back into Mexico. How do we measure success? DEA works tirelessly every day to disrupt and dismantle these cartels. We are second to none at developing intelligence, interpreting it, and actioning it. Without the intelligence, these cases I'm going to talk about, we would never be able to make. You are not going to randomly stop the amount of vehicles that we haven't come across at port of entry. There's no way. And some could be million a day. There's no way we're going to be able to stop every vehicle, search it, and find this. Without the actionable intelligence, the technology that we're hopefully going to be getting based on the new bill will help us get better at doing our job and preventing this stuff from making it to the street in the first place. But we recognize that's not enough by itself. We have a responsibility to ensure the public is aware that threats posed by the cartels that endanger both public safety and national security, and this is where all of you come in today. We are seeing a disturbing trend. Cartels are now producing methamphetamine pills. We started seeing it in 2024 at a tremendous amount. We've already seized more methamphetamine pills this year than we did the entire year of 2024. These are made to look like popular drugs that our youngest men and women want, our college-age students. This is an effort by the cartels, a deliberate effort. Our young men and women are not seeking out methamphetamine pills. They are not seeking to get that. Unfortunately, they are being deceived into a life of potential addiction. We are fighting back, bringing this fight to the front lines. Fentanyl remains the leading cause of death for Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. Fentanyl and methamphetamine together are the toxic evidence that cartels have no value of life. Over the past few weeks, as the Attorney General mentioned, we've made historic seizures in multiple cities targeting these cartels who were recently designated by the President as foreign terrorist organizations. Attorney General spoke about Lexington, South Carolina, right outside Columbia University, University of South Carolina and Columbia. 156 pounds of meth. There was also, 156 pounds of fentanyl along with meth, weapons, cash, and an illegal alien that had previously been deported twice. Fresno, California, the 24 pounds of carfentanil, that's frightening. That's a large amount of any drug, let alone carfentanil. That cannot hit the streets. Luckily, we were able to stop it from getting the street. Gainesville, Georgia, suburb right outside of Atlanta. The 706 pounds of methamphetamine the Attorney General made mention of hidden in a shipment of cucumbers that crossed the Mexican border. Obviously, DEA intelligence led to that. We had not seen this unique. It was not a standard size kilo packages. They were cut in half, and they were built into the boxes that contained the cucumbers. So when you picked up a box, there was no way. So the average trooper or anybody stopping that truck, that 18-wheeler that had tons of cucumbers on it, opened up the back and looked. Unless you knew you were looking for this, there's no way you would have found it. And again, one of the individuals arrested there, an illegal alien deported twice, most recently after serving a federal conviction for drug trafficking, cocaine. Minneapolis, Minnesota, 889 pounds of methamphetamine. Again, one of the persons arrested in that case previously deported. Kern County, California, Bakersfield. Along with our partners, we shut down a meth conversion lab. This is where we see where meth comes across the border in a liquid form, has to be converted back into something that's usable. It's useless in a liquid. It's converted back into crystallized methamphetamine. So very dangerous for the neighborhoods when you live in those areas. Toxic chemicals. This is some of the very, very toxic. The house easily explodes with the chemicals they're mixing. They seized 240 pounds of crystal meth that was finished and another 150 pounds of liquid meth that was in process. Galveston, Texas, along with our other federal partners, CBP and others, we were able to seize 1,700 pounds of methamphetamine worth over the $50 hidden inside a vehicle that was crossing into the United States. Two days ago in Austin, Texas, along with law enforcement partners, we seized an additional 785 pounds of methamphetamine hidden amongst the pallet of blueberries. Let me say this again. This is a national security threat, not just a drug problem. We are taking the fight directly to the cartels, not just at home, but internationally, across our borders, and online, through online platforms. We are not just seizing drugs, we are also dismantling the cartel's logistics and their finance networks. Just recently, DEA agents in Miami seized over $10 million in cryptocurrency directly linked to the Sinaloa cartel. In Omaha, we seized numerous handguns, including machine gun conversion devices, along with 40,000 fentanyl pills in a raid that was run by a locally based polydrug linked to a Mexican cartel. Just recently in Chicago, multi-state takedown in Indiana, Kentucky, and Arizona resulted in the seizure of 59 illegal firearms possessed by serious violent felons, along with 74 pounds of methamphetamine, 11 pounds of fentanyl, 11 pounds of cocaine, cash, and 23 individuals who were arrested. Every seizure demonstrates the reach the cartels have throughout the United States. Make no mistake, the cartels are operating in every corner of this country, and so are we. At this point, we'll take questions. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Administrator, I would like to get your perspective on what exactly is driving this, but I also have an off-topic question for the Attorney General in response to comments that President Trump made a short time ago, just a few months ago on the South Lawn. He said that he would support you releasing additional credible evidence from the Epstein investigation. Is that something that you are open to doing? He said this just a few months ago.
Let me take that first. This today is about fentanyl. This is about a wall of people right outside this room who have died from, I appreciate your question, but this today is about fentanyl overdoses throughout our country and people who have lost loved ones to fentanyl. That's the message that we're here to send today. Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein. Go ahead.
And so to your first question about what's driving this, clearly it's driven by profit. It's all it is. Mexican cartels are driven by profit only. These are business decisions. Everything we talked about today, whether it's how they're smuggling across the bill and the innovation they use to get it across the border, also the attempt at, quite frankly, during the 4th of July holiday, we think it was a concerted effort that they flood us because they thought there'd be less law enforcement working at that time, and they sent as much as they could across the border into numerous cities. Didn't work out well for them. Also, the decision to start making methamphetamine pills, business decision, like any other company in America. They look at what is wanted, unfortunately. Taking a pill has a lot less stigma than shooting a drug in your arm, snorting it, smoking it, but that makes it that much more dangerous because it's less threatening to our young people who, again, from a national security standpoint, that 18 to 45-year-old men and women, that's who makes up our U.S. military, and we're losing them at historical rates. That is not what we can allow to continue, and that's what we're here to fight and continue to fight it. Yes, ma'am.
I have an on-topic and an off-topic question. On-topic, you spoke a lot about seizure numbers, but of all the different actions that you took over that weekend. Can you talk to us about how many individuals are going to be facing criminal prosecution, not simply just being deported, perhaps, arrested and sent?
Everybody arrested in this will be facing. This is a serious amount of drugs.
Do you have a number?
Well, I don't off the top of my head because it was in multiple cities, but I think most of the, pretty much at every place we're talking about, I don't have the exact number.
And to jump in on that same topic, that minimum 10 years in prison for almost all of these defendants, some 20, some 40, depending on the amount of drugs, the type of drugs, the level of drugs. Go ahead.
An off-topic question
Sure.
for you, Attorney General. Today on social media, President Trump made allegations about mortgage fraud against Senator Schiff. I'm wondering if you can comment on that and whether or not that issue has been referred and will be looked at by the judge.
Yeah, I just was told about those comments walking into the...
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. It is the bottom of the hour, almost 2:30, 2:29. Right now, you're watching the Take Back America News Conference. That is Attorney General Pam Bondi speaking. Let's take a listen in.
Are you confident you're going to still be here to execute this? Because there's so many people calling for change at the Department of Justice.
I'm going to be here for as long as the president wants me here, and I believe he's made that crystal clear. It's 4 years, well, 3.5 now, right? We've got 6 months in, and it feels like 6 years. But I was with Director Patel this morning, and we are working on fighting violent crime. We are working on all these issues that we deeply care about to make America safe again and get these drugs off our streets. You know, we've been working on this since my really last 2 years. Fentanyl was coming on the market when I was State Attorney General. And now with these cartels, it's coming back. It's coming in more than ever. And the border has stopped that, but we're going to catch them and we're going to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law.
Yes, sir.
Is there disruption at the leadership of DOJ and the FBI with your relationship with Dan Bongino that is affecting the operations of the DOJ?
No, I'm not going to talk about personnel matters. No, I was with Director Patel all morning, and we are committed to keeping America safe, making America safe, working with our incredible partners at DEA, FBI, ATF, U.S. Marshals to do everything we can to make America safe, and that's what we're focused on. And today, we're focused on protecting our kids. And I would ask all of you, when you leave, go look at that wall outside, right outside this room, of all the fentanyl deaths, all the faces of fentanyl that you have done an amazing job putting up. Thank you all.
Deputy Director Bongino.
Following up on that.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to follow up on that question. I think the American people have a lot of questions about your relationship with the Deputy FBI Director. Do you believe that he should stay in his role?
I'm not going to discuss personnel matters. I think we all are committed to working together now to make America safe again, and that's what we're doing.
That is Attorney General Pam Bondi there on your screen live at a press conference. She's answering questions from reporters right now. And we're going to shift away from that. Thank you for staying with us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. That's Carlene right across from me.
Hi.
Hey, Carlene. Hi. We are chugging along. We want to continue the momentum because we want to talk about the one big beautiful bill, well, I guess now law, the legislation, and its continued impacts. One of those impacts being cuts when it comes to education. There was a news conference yesterday with North Carolina Attorney General Jeff Jackson, along with State Superintendent Mo Green, regarding the impacts of these cuts. And all of this comes as Education Secretary Linda McMahon is expected to move quickly now that the Supreme Court has cleared the way for the Trump administration to continue unwinding the Department of Education. So a lot of moving parts. Again, I did mention the press conference from yesterday with Superintendent Mo Green and Attorney General Jeff Jackson. WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay is here in studio. Of course, we had to bring back Julie to break this down. You're following this story. So, again, as I mentioned, we heard from State Superintendent. We heard from Attorney General. What does this all mean when it comes to, when you talk about federal cuts and North Carolina specifically, what does this mean for North Carolina?
So for North Carolina specifically, I know we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. North Carolina is
missing $165 million that was supposed to go to school districts, to after-school programs, all sorts of different things related to education, but most largely impacting school districts, especially here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, biggest school district. They're going to be missing $12 million. And it's not just the fact that they're missing this funding that they were anticipating. Attorney General Jeff Jackson says, well, this came the day before it was supposed to drop into these bank accounts. This information came in an email the night before, hours before, that schools were supposed to get this funding. Schools have already budgeted out their years. I've been in here talking about budgets a million times. They've already hired people with this funding, knowing that it was coming, assuming that it was coming. And so he said it's not just the fact that this is going to be impacting our schools. He says, and as do 24 other state attorney generals, that this is not legal. Congress authorized these funds. Therefore, the Department of Education does not have the authority, or the Trump administration does not have the authority to just take these funds away, especially not at the last second. He acknowledged if they want to take these funds away. Of course, the Trump administration says this is waste, fraud, and abuse. They are trying to limit excess spending. If that's something they want to do, they have to go through Congress, and that did not happen in this case.
Yeah, and one of the arguments from folks against the One Big Beautiful Bill legislation when it comes to the Department of Education dismantling it is that it took an act of Congress to create this department, so it should take an act of Congress to dismantle the Department of Education. So I guess logical question, what happens next?
Well, and to be honest, we don't know at this point. The schools are kind of in this point where they're unsure of how to handle this. We know that Attorney General Jeff Jackson says at least 1,000 educators in North Carolina will, or about 1,000 educators will lose their jobs. I believe it's 922 that we know of right now. Charlotte-Mecklenburg may have to make some changes. $12 million is a big loss to their budget. Just last week when we had gotten word of this funding, of course this is a step up to take it to a lawsuit, but I spoke with Our Bridge for Kids, and they run an after-school program and a summer program for refugee families, for immigrant families who English is maybe their first language. This is their first time living in America. That's a free program that got some federal funding, not only federal funding, but they are one of the programs that lost out on this. So I have this full workup from the State Board of Education. So it's 21st Century Community Learning Centers. That's what Our Bridge for Kids falls under, so that's included. That's a lot of after-school programs, English language acquisition, education of migratory children, supporting effective instruction, and student support and academic enrichment. Those are the last two ones I mentioned were the biggest chunk. Not every district got funding for each of these. Charlotte-Mecklenburg didn't get funding for every single one of these, although they did get the biggest bulk. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens now, because I don't think there's necessarily an answer other than we know we'll have to lose some teachers and cut some programs.
Wow. Have we heard from CMS and other school districts in the area? Have they? I know we've heard from school board members individually, but the school district as a whole.
Not so formally, but to be honest, this is something that we have known about for a couple weeks now. June 30th is the day that we were supposed to get this funding, or the day before we were supposed to get this funding. That's when the information started to trickle in. So I think for a couple weeks now, they've been preparing. Now that it's kind of been escalated to this level of half the states are getting involved in a lawsuit, I think now it's really setting in that, like, yeah, this is happening. A lawsuit is not quick work, as we know. And so I think this is probably the week we'll hear a little bit more formally from some of those school districts in our area.
That is Julie Kay. Julie, when can folks catch? Look, if it was me, I would say 4, 5, and 6, but I'm not going to say that. When can folks catch you on WCNC Charlotte?
I'll be on at 4 and 6.
4 and 6. I was close.
Very.
I was close. Julie, thank you for your time as always. Again, a big story, not only here that we're following, but across the nation. A big story and one that's getting a lot of eyes, as we have different screens here that you see me occasionally glance at, and that's been the headline for several of the stations and networks that we have here that we are following. So we'll continue to track that. We'll continue to keep our eye on that. All right, so we've been talking about this all newscasts. Another big story, we're weather alert. Storms, The heat. This is a look, and ignore the bug right
There's
there.
a bug that
Insect.
wants to be a part of Live
It
Impact
just wants to
News.
be a part of
Yeah.
Live Impact.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, I understand. This is a look at the ballpark there, Gastonia, the Caramount Health Park, the home of the Gastonia Ghost Peppers.
They're not playing today.
Okay.
I looked it up. They're not playing today. Before you ask me, they are away. They're in Lexington today.
They're in Lexington. Let's go Lexington Legends, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the team.
I think so.
I'm rooting for Lexington. Love you, Gastonia. I mean, okay, if I have to do this again, hometown team. I have to root for the hometown team, hometown-ish team. So it looks beautiful out there, but it is hot. And look, this part of the reason why we are weather aware, because of the heat and of the storms. Let's toss it over to meteorologist Majestic Storm for a look at our full forecast.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and today is a WCNC weather alert day because we're watching this afternoon and this evening for the potential for a few storms to form, and we're concerned that these storms, they won't be like our typical afternoon summertime storms, but they could be bigger, stronger, and slow moving, or perhaps even going over the same place over and over again, which means they could be training. Bottom line is that we're concerned we could see some flooding, even flash flooding. So we're going to break down when we could see it, who could see it. Tomorrow, those rain and storm chances, they'll still be there, but they will be lower. And then taking a look ahead, tropical development, we have our eyes on that as we're heading throughout the next couple of days to the south of us. Now, whenever I'm looking at this graphic and I see pockets shaded in yellow, I do become a bit concerned for the overall risk for flooding. And you can see most of our viewing area, we're at least under a low to medium level risk for flooding. So if you're watching from a county shaded in yellow, we really have our eyes on you. That means from Gastonia up towards Morganton, Taylorsville, Boone. But even for areas shaded in this green, that low end risk doesn't mean that the risk is zero. So everyone, I think you need to just stay aware of what's going on as we're heading throughout the next few hours. Now you're going to notice more cloud coverage roll through, and I really think anytime after about 2 o'clock this afternoon, we could see a stronger storm form, and we could even see some of that flooding. Temperatures today still going to get warm, and it's still going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, even some low 100-degree temperatures, and that combination of heat and humidity, it is fuel for those possible storms. Now, this is what radar could look like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Heavy downpours will be possible and actually quite likely. Notice, though, here's 4 o'clock. This is not widespread. This is not like everyone's going to receive the rain, but we want to make sure that if a neighborhood does get impacted by even 1 or 2 storms, that we're on it for you and that you're prepared and ready for what's to come. And again, we're concerned that there could be some flooding concerns and risks with this. So dinner time and after, you may still be impacted with this active weather. Here's 10 o'clock, still a few isolated storms popping up even across the Charlotte metro area. Then waking up tomorrow morning for our Wednesday, we should be fine, starting out with cloudy conditions, but that active weather and the potential for flooding should be over. Want to give you an update on the tropics. We are following this very carefully. We're watching this area of low pressure. It's off the east coast of Florida, expected to track west. As it does so, it really starts to develop and these characteristics that could become tropical in the Gulf. And the National Hurricane Center now has a 40% chance of development over the next 2 to 7 days. So you can see it. Here it goes as it continues to track west. It forms organization and it starts to really rotate. And then really a lot of our models are indicating that it could impact Louisiana over the next 2 to 7 days. Rain chances for us, 60%. They'll go down over the next couple of days and then increase again on Saturday. And again, yesterday we topped off at 98 degrees. Today we are forecasting 92, so another hot and humid day. But remember, that acts like fuel when we have a forecast like this. 78 degrees today in Blowing Rock, 90 for our good friends out in Lenoir. As we're heading towards Charlotte metro area, 92 in Gastonia and Lincolnton, 87 up towards Statesville. 92 in Rock Hill, low 90s out towards Monroe and Chesterfield. And yeah, there is still little time out there throughout the day to get outside and enjoy the mild conditions before those scattered showers and storms arrive. And you better believe there will be places where you don't even receive any rain. There's the next 10 days. It's going to get hot, especially especially by Friday, nearing 100 degrees. But each day in our 7-day forecast, we do have at least chances for showers and storms. So stay close to the WCNC weather team.
And that is a look at your full forecast. Again, we are weather alert today, so be on the lookout. Make sure you have the app handy. Make sure you're tuned in to WCNC Plus for the latest information. All right, we'll send it now to Capitol Hill. This is Senator Chuck Schumer. He is talking about FEMA cuts impacting places like potentially Texas, as he is talking about right now, after they dealt with some devastating floods. Let's listen in to what Senator Schumer is saying right now.
Trump's disastrous agenda, because it makes them pay more for groceries, electricity, and health care. It's only going to get worse because of Republican politics. Trump's trade war has been nothing but a tax on the American people, and now they're beginning to feel it. And this economic harm came before the big, ugly betrayal. And put those two together, the costs increases and cuts to the well-being of people done by the big, ugly betrayal, and now the tariffs, it's a pincer just squeezing the American people. Republicans couldn't make it any clearer. They will roll out the red carpet for billionaires and special interests, but programs American families rely on, they don't give a hoot. Again, to be clear, gutting bipartisan investments, compromising our national security, hurting America's standard throughout the world is not popular. Losing access to local news, radio, weather is not popular. These cuts that Republicans are pushing help continually establish America as a leader, these cuts that helped America establish itself as leader on the world stage, well, now it's being filled by the vacuum these cuts create by China and Russia. It's very bad for us. So, when Republicans claim we don't have funding for these critical programs, whether it's cutting local news or cutting these foreign policy issues which help us fight China and Russia abroad, when they claim they don't have the money for it, we say bull. What about the tax cuts to the wealthy? You had the money for that. Senate Democrats are going to continue sounding the alarm on these devastating and short-sighted cuts. And now let me call on Senator Hassan. Thank you, Senator Hassan.
Thanks, Senator Schumer. Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the kind of rising and high costs that the American people are facing. My constituents in New Hampshire are struggling with high costs of essentials like groceries, housing, and health care, making it harder for families to make ends meet. And that's the story all across the country. But President Trump and Republicans in Congress have decided to make life even more expensive through both tariffs and the budget bill that they recently passed into law. The President has imposed a national sales tax through these reckless tariffs, driving up the cost of food, housing, and other goods and services. In fact, just today, a new report showed that inflation is rising at a faster rate because of the President's reckless tariffs. And families know this firsthand. Beef and ice cream prices today hit new record high prices, with ground beef prices reaching an average of more than $6 per pound for the first time ever. And the Joint Economic Committee, the minority, which I lead as ranking member, has found that key baby products, the things that new parents need to buy in that first year of your new baby's life, cost 24% today than they did before President Trump imposed his tariffs. At the same time, the recent Republican budget law not only takes health care away from millions of people, but it also drives up health care and prescription drug costs for all Americans, as premiums are going to skyrocket. And for our rural communities, the very real threat of providers closing their doors means longer drive times in those emergencies when minutes truly feel like hours. People are going to drive farther, they are going to wait longer, and they are going to pay more for their health care. The Joint Economic Committee minority found that firefighters, teachers, and truck drivers will all lose hundreds of dollars per year thanks to the President's tariffs and budget law, while the top 0.1%, that's people making over about $4 million a year, will get a $350,000 windfall. And now, making life even harder for rural Americans, the President and congressional Republicans also want to rip funding away from critical sources of information that they count on, particularly by defunding public TV and radio stations all across the country. These actions have a cost, and it's a cost that eclipses dollars and cents. The cost of these actions from the President and my Republican colleagues is millions of Americans losing their health care. The cost is people having to make difficult decisions between paying rent and putting food on the table because of inflation. The cost is families losing information sources in emergencies where every minute, every hour counts. And that's a price that the American people should not have to pay. With that, I'll hand it over to Senator Lujan.
Senator Lujan. Thank you, Senator. Well, good afternoon, everyone. First off, as Leader Schumer reminded us, just don't forget about those families out in Texas. So many folks that lost loved ones, people still missing. More should have been done to help these families. At the same time, we lost 3 loved ones in New Mexico with some horrific flooding. Senator Heinrich and I were there in that community of Ruidoso on Friday. We also saw hundreds of homes that were lost. These are homes that survived a fire, flooding year 1, and more flooding comes year 2. Let us also not forget, as we talk about FEMA, that in the western part of America, we need to make sure there's a chapter for fire and the flooding that's going to follow for not just year 1, but for the next 10 years. Now, while all that's happening, my Republican colleagues are saying, well, they're going to take some cuts in a few places. Russell Vogel's just starting to steal money. That map behind me shows all the radio stations across the country that are about to lose funding. Think about those loved ones in Texas, in New Mexico. There were more floods and loved ones lost in New Jersey. People that depend on getting a radio signal, some kind of information to them when cell phones are not working, mobile phones are out, you can't get a message from anyone else, but it's local AM radio or public broadcasting that are still able to carry a signal to warn you to get out of your home. It's almost time for you to get your stuff ready. You need to get out of there. Something's coming. And what about all of those experts that are to be telling us what the weather's doing? That then touches you so that you might be able to save your life or a loved one's life or a pet's life. It's absolutely disgusting, the cuts that are taking place right now. Now, in addition to that, as Senator Hassan reminded us, what's happening with all these tariffs, these national sales tax? There's probably a lot of coffee drinkers here in this room. I see a bunch of you in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon and the evening. There's a couple coffee shops from back in New Mexico that have reached out to me to tell me how negatively these tariffs are hitting them as well. And for those of you that are buying a cup of coffee, you know that an extra $1 or $2 out of your pocket for a cup of coffee is a lot. And across New Mexico, when every buck matters. That's the kind of nonsense that's happening. And to boot, they're just kicking farmers and ranchers in the face as well, making it harder and harder for them with the price of these inputs, the question associated with these food programs that are being taken away and devastated as well. It's just one punch to the American people after another, right in the gut. It is wrong. And it's time for our Republican colleagues to stand up to this nonsense, do the right thing, and reverse all that is happening that is so bad, that is hurting the American people. We'll now recognize Senator Van Hollen from Maryland.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. It's good to be here with my colleagues to underscore the point that they are making, first and foremost, that what we're seeing on the floor this week in the Senate is another round of Republicans willing to cut services that are important to the American people in order to provide tax cuts for very wealthy Americans. That is what drives every action, including public radio stations that can deliver emergency information, including cuts to FEMA. In my state of Maryland, there are several cities that were going to receive FEMA grants to make sure they could protect themselves and their people against this kind of flooding. All of that is frozen. So that is the main theme that we're witnessing from Republicans from the Congress to the White House. There was one little bright spot of bipartisan agreement this week, and it happened in the Appropriations Committee, and that is that Republicans and Democrats unanimously voted to insist that the Trump administration and Attorney General Pam Bondi come clean in the Jeffrey Epstein case. This case is deeply disturbing, from his horrifying abuse of young women and girls to his lenient plea deal back in 2008 to questions about his death in prison. Survivors of his terrible abuse have not had closure. They have not had the full accounting that they deserve. They have not seen the accountability that's needed in this case, which is why I, along with my colleague Senator Durbin, offered the amendment in the Appropriations Committee markup this week on the bill that provides funding for the Justice Department to require, number one, that the Justice Department retain all the records and files regarding Jeffrey Epstein, that they then provide a report to the United States Congress with the files and answering critical questions that the American people deserve to get answers to, and to make sure that we move forward with full transparency and accountability. Given the fact that that was a unanimous vote, there is no reason Attorney General Bondi should wait one more day to follow that directive, to provide the documents, to provide the files, and to provide the American people with answers to those questions. It was bipartisan. It was unanimous. There's no reason to wait. We need transparency and accountability, and we need it now.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Files. Why didn't you propose that while Biden was president and you have Democrats running the DOJ?
Look, the bottom line is they should release the files now. Yes. Yes.
Does the change to the bill with PEPFAR make any difference for the Democrats?
Look, the Republican bill keeps changing. We still know it does lots of horrible things. The rural areas that don't have their radio stations, that in many cases is the only way or the best way they can get weather warnings, is terrible. They've changed and added a small amount on the foreign aid proposal, but it still leaves an enormous vacuum that China and Russia will fill. We're going to try to improve the bill in any way we can. Yes, Sakil.
Does that mean there won't be an appropriations deal based on your earlier remarks?
Look, we are doing everything. First of all, ask the Republicans that question. We are doing everything we can to keep the bipartisan appropriations process going forward. It's what every president has done, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, and it serves the country well because people are represented and don't get hurt. To do it all, it creates big problems. We are pushing hard to get the appropriations process moving, continuing to move forward, and that's why we're cooperating with the bills they're putting on the floor. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Zora Mondani said he's excited to go to D.C. tomorrow to meet Jeffries and yourself. Will you be meeting with him tomorrow?
I spoke with him last night, and we'll be meeting in New York City. Yes.
Does he need to do more restoration?
I said I talked with him last night, and I'll be meeting with him in New York. Yes.
Does he need to do more to reassure Jewish New Yorkers who are concerned about his inability to condemn the globalized intifada?
Look, what the globalized intifada means is really wrong and should be condemned, and I look forward to my discussions with Mr. Mamdani. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right there was Senator Chuck Schumer basically talking about the impacts of the One Big Beautiful Bill legislation that was recently signed into law. So that press conference, that just wrapping up there on Capitol Hill. All right, so today we are weather alert. I'll pop myself back out on here on camera. We're approaching the top of the hour, 2:58. Vanessa Rufus is right behind me, literally right behind me.
She can't wait to get on camera.
She can't wait to get let's send it over to meteorologist Majestic Storm for a check of our forecast.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and today is a WCNC weather alert day because we're watching this afternoon and this evening for the potential for a few storms to form, and we're concerned that these storms, they won't be like our typical afternoon summertime storms, but they could be bigger, stronger, and slow moving, or perhaps even going over the same place over and over again, which means they could be training. Bottom line is that we're concerned we could see some flooding, even flash flooding. So we're going to break down when we could see it, who could see it. Tomorrow, those rain and storm chances, they'll still be there, but they will be lower. And then taking a look ahead, tropical development, we have our eyes on that as we're heading throughout the next couple of days to the south of us. Now, whenever I'm looking at this graphic and I see pockets shaded in yellow, I do become a bit concerned for the overall risk for flooding. And you can see most of our viewing area, we're at least under a low to medium level risk for flooding. So if you're watching from a county shaded in yellow, we really have our eyes on you. That means from Gastonia up towards Morganton, Taylorsville, Boone. But even for areas shaded in this green, that low end risk doesn't mean that the risk is zero. So everyone, I think you need to just stay aware of what's going on as we're heading throughout the next few hours. Now you're going to notice more cloud coverage roll through, and I really think anytime after about 2 o'clock this afternoon, we could see a stronger storm form, and we could even see some of that flooding. Temperatures today still going to get warm, and it's still going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, even some low 100-degree temperatures, and that combination of heat and humidity, it is fuel for those possible storms. Now, this is what radar could look like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Heavy downpours will be possible and actually quite likely. Notice, though, here's 4 o'clock. This is not widespread. This is not like everyone's going to receive the rain, but we want to make sure that if a neighborhood does get impacted by even 1 or 2 storms, that we're on it for you and that you're prepared and ready for what's to come. And again, we're concerned that there could be some flooding concerns and risks with this. So dinner time and after, you may still be impacted with this active weather. Here's 10 o'clock, still a few isolated storms popping up even across the Charlotte metro area. Then waking up tomorrow morning for our Wednesday, we should be fine, starting out with cloudy conditions, but that active weather and the potential for flooding should be over. Want to give you an update on the tropics. We are following this very carefully. We're watching this area of low pressure. It's off the east coast of Florida, expected to track west. As it does so, it really starts to develop and these characteristics that could become tropical in the Gulf. And the National Hurricane Center now has a 40% chance of development over the next 2 to 7 days. So you can see it. Here it goes as it continues to track west. It forms organization and it starts to really rotate. And then really a lot of our models are indicating that it could impact Louisiana over the next 2 to 7 days. Rain chances for us, 60%. They'll go down over the next couple of days and then increase again on Saturday. And again, yesterday we topped off at 98 degrees. Today we are forecasting 92, so another hot and humid day. But remember, that acts like fuel when we have a forecast like this. 78 degrees today in Blowing Rock, 90 for our good friends out in Lenore. As we're heading towards Charlotte metro area, 92 in Gastonia and Lincolnton, 87 up towards Statesville. 92 in Rock Hill, low 90s out towards Monroe and Chesterfield. And yeah, there is still little time out there throughout the day to get outside and enjoy the mild conditions before those scattered showers and storms arrive. And you better believe there will be places where you don't even receive any rain. There's the next 10 days. It's going to get hot, especially by Friday, nearing 100 degrees. But each day in our 7-day forecast, we do have at least chances for showers and storms. So stay close to the WCNC weather team.
All right, folks, so there you have it. Of course, we'll be keeping you updated on any weather impacts throughout the day as we are alert for today. Let's go ahead and turn the page here to another big topic locally for us. That is the 2040 plan. For folks who have been in the Charlotte area for some time, you know this is a long discussed topic, and it's essentially how the city wants to potentially develop the city over the next 15 years or so. And we have our Walker Lawson, who is following up with the latest with the discussions on this plan. I kind of gave a really quick synopsis, but essentially, I mean, this is all about development and what goes where in the city and what sort of amenities, I guess you will, end up in certain neighborhoods and such, right?
Yeah, so they split it up into different groups, and this is really because the city has grown so much tremendously. They're expecting in the next 15 years to have another 400,000 residents, 200,000 jobs come to the area. So this is really just to get a hold on development for the community.
So you specifically, well, you heard from the city, but also you heard about what the community members themselves are saying about what they want to see, right? Because there's been public input opportunities.
Yeah, so for a lot of people that don't know, for us reporters, when we interview people that are concerned about development or stuff, we usually find them on the street as we walk up to people. But today was a different scenario where we actually got to hear from people that were logging on to this web seminar to give their feedback. Something that we heard was in inner western Charlotte, they were really trying to not see as much of commercial development, not as much as manufacturing plants as well, just kind of seeing more growth in the area, but less of that style development. From what I heard from city leaders, South Inner is the area that's being focused on the most. That'd be South End. A lot of feedback has come back in that area, of course. Again, this isn't going to, the renderings that you'll see are not exactly what the city is going to look like. They're just giving a vision for how tall, if a developer comes in and says, hey, I want to build an apartment complex here in South End, how tall can it be? What would it look like? Where on the property would it sit? And that's really just to give a vision for people to not be surprised or caught off guard. Again, it's not to get confused with the UDOs, which will allow certain kind of developments, but this is really just kind of a vision of what they hope the city will look like as it gets developed.
Yeah. So, I mean, are there specific, features that get discussed? For example, I mean, I know you kind of alluded to the fact that in certain neighborhoods there are, I guess, wishes for generally how they want it to be developed, but are you hearing things like, hey, we don't have enough sidewalks here, hey, we don't have enough grocery stores in this neighborhood, because we do talk about food deserts from time to time, in some of our communities, areas where you mentioned South End, it seems like there's a new apartment complex popping up every day. Yeah,
it feels
every day. Are we good with the apartment complexes in South End? Yeah, what are you hearing?
Well, that's one of the things is the plan really focuses on mobility as well. And so you'll see a lot of intersections have been studied in this plan. It's not only development, but it's roadways and it's everything. There are intersections that they've looked at that said these need to be addressed. These are areas with high volumes of crashes, or these are areas where people feel like they could get around better. Looking at more centers. So every community has a different niche outlook for the area. You see all these different areas popping up. You have Loso, South End, Noda, all these little communities that have different vibes and looks to them. So people have given different feedback on what they want. They've talked to close to 400,000 residents in this process. So they said they've talked to a lot of people, got a lot of feedback, and this still has a little bit of time to go. You still have until Friday to get on their website and to voice your opinion, and then it still has a couple more steps before it's voted on by Charlotte City Council, which they'll present all the feedback and their plans that they have for that.
Yeah, so that's good to know. Friday deadline. I know that you're putting together a piece for our evening newscast. When can we see your piece? What sort of storylines will you be touching on in the pieces? And I'm assuming you're doing a web story as well.
Yeah, the web story is almost done. So for people, it'll hopefully be up in the next hour or so. But I'll be joining you in studio at 5:30.
Okay.
Not in the field for once, in person.
Well, it's a hot day, so.
Yeah, it's a warm day. So I'll be in studio at 5:30. That's the time the story airs, and you'll hear from residents, but really focused hearing from city officials, because I think there's been a lot of confusion from people about this, what this really means. And so city officials have tried to break that down for people, because there's a lot of confusion with UDOs and what they think this plan actually means. And then there's been conversations about state bills that have been tried to be introduced to try to stop development from communities. So a lot of people were raising questions in these meetings, which were really interesting. But you'll hear from the city to kind of explain this is not saying a development can or can't go here.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a roadmap. And so you'll hear the concerns from citizens as well.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is a really weighty topic. I think and you've probably experienced this too, when you pull up the documents for 2040, it's like, it's a novel.
It's almost, I want to say there's like 30 pages per 14 communities.
It's a novel.
And so right when I started my interview with the city, it took them about 8 minutes to dig for the exact document I was talking about because they have so much to dig through. So it's a big document and there's a lot to it. And so that's why they're being very specific and they want to hear from people, and they broke these communities up because Charlotte is so large and wide. And you can kind of pinpoint your specific place in these communities, and it makes it easier for you to dive in and find what you're looking for because there's so much to find.
I think that's a good call out because I feel like whenever we talk about development stories, because they can be kind of dense, maybe sometimes people kind of glaze over a little bit. They're like, I don't know if I can grasp all this, but you know, instead of reading the whole War and Peace, just pick a chapter that pertains to your neighborhood, see what it looks like. Think about how you feel about it, and then reach out to city officials with your input because that stuff matters.
It does,
you know?
and they hear from people, and they are trying to take in everything they can. This is a big decision to make for 15 to 20 years out. So they want to hear from you guys. You have till Friday. This is probably the third time I've covered it. I know Julie Kay's also covered it because there have just been many layers to it to try to process and digest.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you boiling some of that down for us. We'll
the
see
best I can.
Yeah, I know. It's tough once again. Sometimes, like I'm a visual person. Sometimes I just want to like see the
Thankfully,
stuff.
they have great renderings, so that's a good thing.
And I mean, obviously something that you can link folks to in the web story.
Yes.
All right, Walker Lawson, thanks so much. We'll see you at 5:30.
I'll see you in studio at 5:30.
And of course, folks, keep it here on WCNC Plus as we transition away from Live Impact News for our usual evening newscasts. You'll just roll right into the evening news and see Walker's story. We got a couple other topics we're following here over this hour. We've got air traffic control that's being discussed. If you've been following some of the headlines around this issue over the last several, let's say, weeks to months, you know that there's been a recent push to try to modernize air traffic control systems. We've covered at length here on Live Impact News some of the issues that air traffic controllers have been raising as far as issues with infrastructure in communications equipment and such like that between each other. So there's been staffing concerns that have been obviously stacking up and kind of creating a domino effect for folks who are actually flying. So there's actually a one-day summit that is bringing together top-level officials from the government, including lawmakers, to discuss this issue of how to modernize the infrastructure for the U.S. Air traffic control system. We know that including here, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Tammy Duckworth, part of this panel, Representative Steve Womack, and Representative Rick Larson. And then there are also airport executives, so the American Association of Airport Executives hosting this summit. So that's something that we're going to try to bring to you in just a little bit. We also know that the president is in Pittsburgh today talking about energy and AI. There's a summit that's underway at Carnegie Mellon University, and this was, a summit that was organized and hosted by a senator from that area, Dave McCormick. They're going to be leaders of energy and tech companies there alongside the president. And it sounds like there's going to be an announcement as well, billions of dollars in new investments into energy and innovation there in the state. So is that the feed that we're looking at now, Jeb?
Yes, that's live.
Okay.
Nothing's happening quite yet, but it's about, they just did the national anthem.
Oh,
so
okay.
we're
Getting underway shortly. Yeah, so for folks who are kind of looking ahead here over the course of the next hour, we will try to bring you remarks from this Energy and AI Summit. Once again, these are live images of the event about to get underway at Carnegie Mellon University. There's the Air Traffic Control Summit we're going to try to bring you as well. We're working on getting some of our feeds here aligned. Meantime, we've got our Miles Harris, who is working on a story for us this evening for the news at 4. And he actually came on Live Impact News to kind of preface this report that he's going to do later in the afternoon for us, just to get kind of an idea of what he's been working on. But Saturday we're going to see Festival Colombiano return to Charlotte. We've talked about how ICE activity is kind of playing a role in somehow folks are participating in activities in the community, if you will. So there are some community members weighing in on whether or not to attend. So here's Miles, who filed this teaser report, if you will, of what his story will entail later tonight.
Hey guys, Miles Harris here, WCNC Charlotte. We are at First Ward Park here in Uptown, and while it looks pretty empty for the most part, this place will hopefully be packed come Saturday, as they are getting set to host the annual Festival Colombiano event. Now there is a whole lot of excitement when it comes to the opportunity to celebrate the tradition and the culture surrounding the Colombian culture, but there are honestly a couple of reservations when it comes to how this can be operated because of the recent immigration enforcement activity when it comes to being around the Charlotte area. So I got a chance to talk to not just the organizers, but also one of the sponsors in Camino about this upcoming event. And while they understand the reservation from potential attendees at this event, they also are really pushing for people to come out here and not only enjoy themselves and celebrating that tradition and culture, because they understand how important and how impactful the Latino community is out here in areas like Charlotte, but they also want people to not really be hesitant and to grow into fear and to not celebrating events like this as well. They work well with law enforcement. Actually, Sheriff McFadden is a big advocate for this event and plans to be there as well as far as part of their promotions as well, and they're hoping that community members take part in doing so as well. So again, this event is happening on Saturday. We'll see if there's any changes when it comes to any law enforcement actions, things of that nature, but hey, they are looking forward to seeing people in the Charlotte community coming out to really celebrate the tradition when it comes to Festival Colombiano this Saturday.
Okay, so there you have it. Once again, Miles will have his report for us, the full report coming up at 4:30. We always advise you to keep it here on WCNC Plus as we roll into the evening news. We are also, of course, going to be keeping you updated on the weather. We talked about that just several moments back when we had a report from Majestic Storm. We do have a flash flood threat that is elevated for today, so we definitely want folks to be alert and aware of the potential impacts to them in their communities. Not everyone we're seeing is set to see heavy rain, but if you do see it, you could have storms that sit over your area for hours, and that could cause some issues, as we mentioned, for flash flooding. Really, of course, a topic in the forefront of a lot of folks' minds, considering what's been going on in Texas lately. We want to make sure that we're keeping y'all safe and keeping you aware of what could happen. We know there have been several states that have already seen from these kind of slow-moving, stalled thunderstorms, inches and inches of rain. In fact, 5 to 12 inches reported across multiple states. We had Virginia, that was under a flash flood emergency. There were areas west and southwest of Raleigh with flash flood warnings. And then, folks in the mountains, the greater Charlotte area, we're just asking you to be weather alert. Let's go ahead and check in with the very latest on the weather front. Here's meteorologist Majestic Storm.
Well, good Tuesday afternoon to you. I'm WCNC meteorologist Majestic Storm, and today is a WCNC weather alert day because we're watching this afternoon and this evening for the potential for a few storms to form, and we're concerned that these storms, they won't be like our typical afternoon summertime storms, but they could be bigger, stronger, and slow moving, or perhaps even going over the same place over and over again, which means they could be training. Bottom line is that we're concerned we could see some flooding, even flash flooding. So we're going to break down when we could see it, who could see it. Tomorrow, those rain and storm chances, they'll still be there, but they will be lower. And then taking a look ahead, tropical development, we have our eyes on that as we're heading throughout the next couple of days to the south of us. Now, whenever I'm looking at this graphic and I see pockets shaded in yellow, I do become a bit concerned for the overall risk for flooding. And you can see most of our viewing area, we're at least under a low to medium level risk for flooding. So if you're watching from a county shaded in yellow, we really have our eyes on you. That means from Gastonia up towards Morganton, Taylorsville, Boone. But even for areas shaded in this green, that low end risk doesn't mean that the risk is zero. So everyone, I think you need to just stay aware of what's going on as we're heading throughout the next few hours. Now you're going to notice more cloud coverage roll through, and I really think anytime after about 2 o'clock this afternoon, we could see a stronger storm form, and we could even see some of that flooding. Temperatures today still going to get warm, and it's still going to feel like we're back into the upper 90s, even some low 100-degree temperatures, and that combination of heat and humidity, it is fuel for those possible storms. Now this is what radar could look like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Heavy downpours will be possible and actually quite likely. Notice though, here's 4 o'clock. This is not widespread. This is not like everyone's going to receive the rain, but we want to make sure that if a neighborhood does get impacted by even 1 or 2 storms, that we're on it for you and that you're prepared and ready for what's to come. And again, we're concerned that there could be some flooding concerns and risks with this. So dinner time and after, you may still be impacted with this active weather. Here's 10 o'clock, still a few isolated storms popping up even across the Charlotte metro area. Then waking up tomorrow, for our Wednesday, we should be fine, starting out with cloudy conditions, but that active weather and the potential for flooding should be over. Want to give you an update on the tropics. We are following this very carefully. We're watching this area of low pressure. It's off the east coast of Florida, expected to track west. As it does so, it really starts to develop and these characteristics that could become tropical in the Gulf. And the National Hurricane Center now has a 40% chance of development over the next 2 to 7 days. So you can see it. Here it goes. As it continues to track west, it forms organization and it starts to really rotate. And then really a lot of our models are indicating that it could impact Louisiana over the next 2 to 7 days. Rain chances for us, 60%. They'll go down over the next couple of days and then increase again on Saturday. And again, yesterday we topped off at 98 degrees. Today we are forecasting 92, so another hot and humid day. But remember, that acts like fuel when we have a forecast like this. 78 degrees today in Blowing Rock, 90 for our good friends out in Lenoir. As we're heading towards Charlotte metro area, 92 in Gastonia and Lincolnton, 87 up towards Statesville. 92 in Rock Hill, low 90s out towards Monroe and Chesterfield. And yeah, there is still a little time out there throughout the day to get outside and enjoy the mild conditions before those scattered showers and storms arrive. And you better believe there will be places where you don't even receive any rain. There's the next 10 days. It's going to get hot, especially by Friday, nearing 100 degrees. But each day in our 7-day forecast, we do have at least chances for showers and storms. So stay close to the WCNC weather team.
Folks, and with that, we want to turn to a live feed here into the Live Impact News studio. Happening right now is a Senate subcommittee hearing. This is actually a second hearing on this same topic, but it's the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. The specific hearing is called Voices of the Vaccine Injured, so expecting to hear from a handful of witnesses who are going to testify about vaccines that were FDA approved that they say hurt them or a loved one. Of note here, there is a Democratic member of this committee, Senator Richard Blumenthal, who actually says he hopes nothing comes of this hearing because he thinks that this is not a topic that is worthy of attention. He says it's not deserving of credibility and attention, and he has spoken, in fact, with pro-vaccine advocates ahead of this hearing who are saying that the vaccine skepticism that is happening in the country at this point is concerning. But let's listen in. Let's, of course, pop back in as more breaking news happens. Once again, here's the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations.
Today, parents and loved ones should never have to know the type of heartache that comes with the loss of a child. And it's a loss that was common, all too common, before vaccines were developed. Smallpox killed approximately 500 million people in the 100 years before it was declared eradicated in 1980. 90% of deaths are believed to have occurred in children under 10 years old. But that risk was eliminated thanks to vaccines that led to smallpox becoming the only disease to have been completely wiped out on the globe. Parents, I will say, including my own, with my brother and me, used to live in fear of their children contracting polio. I will never forget one summer when my brother had a very high fever, all of the symptoms of polio, the anxiety level in our house was incomparable. I was barely old enough to understand what might happen. In bad years, 15,000 United States children were permanently paralyzed. But again, thanks to vaccination, those fears no longer permeate our society. Despite enormous advances made over the last century, still far too many people, many of them children, die of vaccine-preventable illnesses every year. I'm reading a book right now called Everything is Tuberculosis. It's by John Green. It's on the New York Times bestseller list, so I don't need to give you all the details of information. It is about tuberculosis and about how treatments and medicine is available for tuberculosis, which could eradicate it, but for many of the deep suspicions and anxieties in developing countries. One of the characters in this book, it's nonfiction, is a young boy who at 5 years old was stopped from treatment by his father because of his distrust for medicine and his reliance on other kinds of cures. I am deeply grateful to Eric Stein, who lost his 4-year-old sister, and to Cerise Murata, who suffered the tragic death of her 5-year-old son, for their courage in coming forward to share their stories with us today. Stories like theirs were once the norm. At the beginning of the last century, infant mortality in the United States was more than 100 times higher than it is today, and over 60% of those dead children succumbed to infectious disease. A century later, thanks to, in large part, widespread vaccination, that figure has dropped to 2%. But as you will hear today, the fact that these deaths are now rare doesn't make them any less tragic. And every one of them is a tragedy for parents who survive, parents like Catherine Al-Qaidi. In January 2012, Catherine's infant son, Brady, died in her arms from pertussis, commonly known as whooping cough, at just 2 months old. And I would like to give her the opportunity to talk to you directly, recounting her unimaginable loss. And if you could play the video that we have.
Hi, my name is Catherine Al-Qaidi from Chicopee, Massachusetts. Our son Brady passed away in 2012 from whooping cough. He was born November 20th, 2011 and passed away January 28th, 2012. Brady was a very happy, very healthy baby boy. After the holidays, Brady developed a cough. We were in and out of the hospital trying to figure out what was going on. His breathing, couldn't keep food down, and eventually it worsened. Brady spiked a fever. We took him back to the emergency room where he was admitted to Bay State Medical Center. We spent the next 10 days with tests, breathing tubes, feeding tubes, trying to stabilize him and get through the hard part of the disease. Unfortunately, Brady was not stable enough and needed further care, where they transferred us to Boston Children's Hospital. Unfortunately, halfway through the route, Brady's heart stopped. Unfortunately, with tests run by neurologists, it was found that Brady had no brain activity, and shortly after, he passed. The whooping cough diagnosis came a few weeks later. We were never able to pinpoint exactly where or how he contracted the disease, but it was likely from an unvaccinated person who may not have noticeable symptoms. My baby boy, at 2 months, 2 weeks old, passed away in my arms on January 28th, 2012. This is his story, and I'm appreciative that we're able to share it with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine Alcade. Someone else's decision not to get vaccinated.
Folks, we'll get back to this hearing in just a moment. Meantime, we wanted to break in with some traffic-related news here on Live Impact News. We've got live images just coming into our newsroom of this crash that's reported on 77 southbound near Huntersville. This is close to Hambright Road. If you're familiar with the area, it's mile marker 20.8, southbound direction. We had some earlier images that we were watching of this feed. It just popped up a few moments ago, but we did see there were some motorcycles that appeared to be involved with this, based on just this video images that we were seeing. Looks like everything has mostly moved over to the shoulder, but we've been seeing some intermittent closures of a lane or two in the general purpose lanes as we have emergency vehicles that are arriving. And you can see medic is still there. It looks like we have either a trooper or a police officer, and it looks like maybe even a road ranger or a tow truck that's on scene. Looks like the motorcycles have in fact remained on the scene, and they're on the shoulder as well. So please be careful if you're heading that way. Once again, this is a southbound direction of 77 near Hambright Road near Huntersville. Looks like express lanes are moving pretty well. We are seeing some delays though in the general purpose lanes, and we always ask you as you're passing a crash scene, if you do decide to head this way, that you adhere to the move over law. So you're moving over that lane closest to the emergency vehicles and the stranded motorists on the side of the roadway, or you are slowing down significantly below the speed limit in order to protect folks that are there on the side of the road. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. We haven't heard any reports of specific injuries or anything of that nature. However, as we mentioned, medic is on scene. We just can't tell, though, if this is just a checkup, just to see if anyone needs medical care or if someone is actually being transported. As we get that information, we'll definitely pass it along. With that, we're going to turn you back to this vaccine hearing happening in a Senate subcommittee. As we mentioned, we have some folks who are testifying about what they say they experienced with FDA-approved vaccines, some saying that they experienced injuries. Let's listen in.
Scientific research have shown conclusively that vaccines do not cause autism. At this time, I would like to enter into the record 6 scientific papers that have shown that vaccines do not cause autism. If there's no objection, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
They're here. Anyone is free to look at them. These include studies done over decades involving hundreds of thousands of children and a comprehensive analysis from the National Institute of Medicine concluding that epidemiological studies, quote, consistently provided no evidence of association between vaccines.
All right, we're breaking in once again, folks, to talk about another topic. As always, if we can get back to the hearing there in the Senate subcommittee, we certainly will. But we got some local news to talk about on the sports and entertainment front, excitement front for our city. So let's bring in our Danielle Stein, who is going to talk about the chatter around the 2026 MLS All-Star Game.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yes.
As we were just talking about, it's pretty exciting. It's not official yet, but sources have confirmed that tomorrow they did announce that there will be an announcement here in Charlotte, and that will be to officially say that the 2026 MLS All-Star Game will be at Bank of America Stadium here in Charlotte. So it's going to be bringing in a lot of excitement, a lot of people, a lot of money to the city. So there's a lot to kind of unpack about what this game will mean for the city.
Yeah. So you kind of alluded to the fact that it's not official. It's It's confirmed in some sense that there's going to be an announcement. Is the announcement tomorrow?
Yep. So I did confirm with my sources that will be happening tomorrow. They did already reach out to us saying that there will be an announcement. It was just about what that announcement is. But we do know, of course, that Don Garber, who's the commissioner of MLS, will be in attendance coming to Charlotte, as well as the mayor will be there, the Teppers. So when it's an announcement that has, the people like that who are going to be involved, it's going to be something big. And yes, we can confirm that it will be about announcing this game coming to Charlotte in 2026. No date yet. I'm sure we'll get more of those details. That's going to be something that's going to be interesting to hear about because 2026 is a World Cup year. So the schedule come next summer for MLS might be a little bit different because a lot of the players might be playing in that World Cup. So it'll be interesting to see where that window kind of aligns for them with this match.
Yeah, this is pretty cool in the sense that I think Charlotte is really establishing itself as a soccer city and continues to bring in events related to that. And this is just another one that is really going to draw eyeballs as far as Charlotte and soccer.
Yeah, I mean, as we know, Charlotte FC is still newer club in retrospect to MLS. This is just its 4th season, but it's kind of aligning with what MLS has been deciding to do. The All-Star game this year in 2025 is in Austin, Texas. Austin FC was the team who came into the league just before Charlotte in 2021. So they're bringing in these exciting games to these newer markets as well, but it does still show that the excitement around soccer is definitely here in the Queen City between the introduction of the Ascent this season, as well as just the rise that Charlotte FC has had over last season, making it to the playoffs, and then, of course, having a huge presence in the FIFA Club World Cup just a couple weeks ago.
Now, I know it's hard to say because sometimes, these types of events can evolve over the years, but is there anything you can share? Like, for example, when I think about MLB All-Star Game, which coincidentally is happening tonight, or just the All-Star events for MLB, there's going to be like a home run derby, there's the game.
Yeah.
When you think about, NBA, you've got the dunk, you've got the celebrity, it's like multiple days. What can you tell us about MLS All-Star, like for folks who aren't familiar with the type of event and, what sort of activities does that bring?
Yeah, I would say that it's more untraditional in terms of what an All-Star game is. So if you brought up NBA, the actual NBA All-Star game, it's, East against West is how it's been done for so long. That's not how these games have typically gone in recent years. They've changed the format year to year. In most recent years, including the one that's going to be coming up just next week, it's actually been against the Liga MX, which is the league over in Mexico.
Yeah.
They're All-Stars. So it's basically like the All-Stars from the United States against the All-Stars from Mexico in that club, in that league over there. There's also been formats where they've had clubs from overseas like Chelsea or Fulham, these Premier League clubs. So it would be the MLS All-Stars against another team. So we don't know exactly who the opponent is going to be yet for that 2026 one when they come here. We do know, obviously, when we just saw Pachuca, who's from Liga MX, playing here in Charlotte just from the FIFA Club World Cup. They brought a lot of fans. The Mexican support is big, especially coming just obviously not too far of a travel for them. So we could expect some good support from both MLS supporters and Liga MX supporters as well. But you're right, it does have other things too. They have skills challenges and some fun sort of opportunities like that. They actually introduced having skills challenges with NWSL players. So actually a friend of mine competed on the women's side against some of the MLS players in certain skills challenges as well. So kind of cool to just show the evolution of soccer here in the States too.
Yeah, and maybe for some folks who haven't caught the soccer bug, this can be like an introductory. Hopefully folks don't wait as long as 2026 to catch the soccer bug. But
and here's the thing, at the end of the day, you can imagine if, all things stand, that Lionel Messi will still be an all-star. So wherever he goes, people go. And if he is going to be coming again to Charlotte to play, I'm sure that is in itself going to be bringing in lots of fans. But the other interesting part of this all is most of these all-star games have taken place in soccer-specific venues. So in Austin, over at Q2 Stadium, it's only 20,000 people can fit there. Playing at Bank of America, there's obviously way bigger opportunities to pack the stadium in terms of the financials, in terms of just the attendance.
Yeah.
So compared to some of the other venues that these All-Star games have been at, we might see booms of people here in Charlotte for that.
Wow, that is pretty cool to think about. And I hadn't thought about, maybe the differences in the stadium seating, but it's Bank of America like 75 or something.
Could
Yeah,
be
potentially.
over triple the amount
Yeah.
of what we will see next week in Austin, for example.
Fantastic. All right. Are you putting together a report at all for your sports report this evening on this?
Yeah, we will be talking more about what we know, and we'll definitely be getting ready for tomorrow. So Commissioner Garber will be in town. We should be speaking with him, and we're going to be live streaming that whole press conference with the announcement right here on WCNC Plus as well. So we'll have all of that information. In terms of Charlotte FC's stamp in the All-Star game this year, only one player was voted into the roster for the 2025 MLS All-Star Game. That is Patrick Adjumon. We don't know yet still his status on if he will be there or not.
Yeah.
They are announcing some additions and alternates right now. I would think that Pep Biel should be on everyone's list as someone that should be added onto an MLS All-Star list, but we shall see how that goes.
Okay, another storyline to watch. All right, Daniel Stein, thanks so much for joining us here on Live Impact Sports.
Yes.
Let's make that happen. We'll make that happen.
Always the impact.
The catchphrase. Yeah, and we'll see you later this evening here on WCNC Plus in our regular evening newscast.
Sweet.
Cool stuff. All right. I know. Oh my gosh. I just love it. I love when we get stuff to Charlotte. Okay, folks, we did tease this earlier in the hour. It's happening now. The president is at this Energy and AI Summit that is happening at Carnegie Mellon. Let's listen in. Looks like the president is speaking at this very moment.
Nobody really talks too much about because they didn't see the order, but I actually looked down to the right before that thing happened, and I said, oh, there's David McCormick. He's running for the Senate. David, come on up. And there was so many people, there was a little problem he had coming up because I said, look, just do it later. And then about a minute later, so, if you would have come up, I don't know what the hell would have happened, right? It worked out better this way, right? I don't know if it would have been around, but I want to take full credit for that. I said, no, don't bother, we'll do it later. So if I didn't say that, who knows? But really great job. Exactly 1 year ago this week, David was at that rally in Pennsylvania. And 12 months later, look at what we have. We have a president. We have really, I mean, if you think about it, we had a country, and I just left the NATO leaders. I left the Middle East, the King of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, as you know, Mir, so great, and UAE. These are three great leaders. And then we just made a deal with NATO where they pay for everything, and we give them the ammunition and the missiles, and we give them whatever they want. We got to get that war stopped. It's so bad. But every leader said, no matter where, they all said the same thing to me. Some of them separately, but it's the same words, just about. He said, it's amazing. 1 year ago, you had a dead country. We were dead. We didn't think you could ever come back. And now, today, you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. It's true. So, we're back in Pittsburgh to announce the largest package of investments in the history of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it's not even close. I don't imagine it's too close. I don't think second is too close. That's a big statement. This afternoon, 20 leading technology and energy companies are announcing more than $92 billion of investments in Pennsylvania. And if you want, we could probably get them up. Let's talk to them right now. But this is a really triumphant day for the people of the Commonwealth and for the United States of America. We're doing things that nobody ever thought possible. As of about a month and a half ago, when we came back from the Middle East, we came back with $5.1 trillion of investments from the three countries that I mentioned, and they're great people, great leaders of those countries. But we came back with many, many planes that they are going to build through Boeing. They came back with a package of goods that were, nobody's seen. I don't think anybody's seen. $5.1 trillion. And we are now at about 16, think of this, $16 trillion. And we're at a little bit less than 6 months, but really we're probably at 3 months because it took me a little time to get started, right? So in 3.5, 4 months, let's say, we have about $16 trillion. There's never been anything like that in history. You can go for years and they didn't have numbers like that. And if you look at the last administration, you had negative numbers. You didn't have positive numbers. You're going in the wrong direction. But we have the hottest country, and we're going to keep it that way. Today's commitments are ensuring that the future is going to be designed, built, and made right here in Pennsylvania and right here in Pittsburgh, and I have to say right here in the United States of America. I want to thank, we have some great talent in the administration. I want to thank and say hello to a few people that are with us. Secretaries Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, Doug Burgum, Chris Wright. Chris Wright's very friendly with the people up here. Doug, I wanted Doug for energy. I didn't know about Chris. And Doug said, no, I have somebody that's much better than me, right? And Doug did that in his life, you have to know. I said, this guy must be very good, but what a team they are. We have one controls the land and one controls the energy, but it was sort of intertwined. So we put them together, right? We never even discussed who's supposed to be the leader of the pack, but boy, it was one instruction: drill, baby, drill, right? And they are drilling. They are drilling. We have the EPA administrator, probably, I must say this, Doug, I hate to say it, Chris and Doug and all of you guys, the most important man on the dais today is Lee Zeldin. It's called Environmental Protection because he's going to be the one that gets you a permit. He's going to get you a permit for the largest electric producing plant in the world in about a week, would you say? Now, if you go nuclear, I promised him I'd give him 2 weeks. Okay, nuclear will give him a little more time. But the biggest problem we've had is it takes years and years to get permits, and he really is. He's a phenomenal guy, and his history. He's a great lawyer, great congressman, in a race that was, according to most, unwinnable. Almost won for governor, just missed it by a few points, and he's really fantastic. But he's essentially the Environmental Protection Agency, the top man, and he's got things rocking, and already they're building plants and they have their permits. These are permits that would have taken you literally 10 years to get, or I would really say 10 years before they voted against you, because that's really what was happening, and it's crazy all over the country. But we're freeing it up, and he really is going to be able to produce. I'm looking at the numbers of China, where they're producing a lot of electric. Well, they only have one man they have to worry about, our friend, right, President Xi. He can do that by himself. I don't know if I can. Do I have the right to overrule you? Maybe. I don't know. Probably I do, but I won't have to. But so he has one man, and we have one man. The one man is sitting right there. We appreciate you doing an amazing job. They're building plants already, and they're building plants, and they have already their permits. And I have to brag just for a second, because when I first heard about AI, it's not my thing. Although my uncle was at MIT, one of the great professors, 51 years, whatever, he was the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, 3 degrees in nuclear, chemical, and math. That's a smart man. Kaczynski was one of his students. Do you know who Kaczynski was? There's very little difference between a madman and a genius. But Kaczynski, I said, what kind of a student was he, Uncle John, Dr. John Trump? He said, what kind of a student? And then he said, seriously good. He said he'd go around correcting everybody, but it didn't work out too well for him. Didn't work out too well, but it's interesting in life. But I will say this, that we have the greatest brains, we have the greatest power, and we are going to have more electric. I said to some of the guys coming in, they wanted to hook up to the grid. I spoke to Mark and Jeff and a lot of people. And they said, well, we want to know about the electric, because I was told we'll need from David. The first one, you're the first one that told me. That's why I hired him, because I said he told me something I didn't know. He said, you need double the electric of what we have right now and maybe even more than that. Remember that? And I said, what, are you kidding? And that's double the electric that we have. Take everything we have and double it. And actually, the number, that was even low. You need more than that. And to do that, you'd have to hook up to an old grid, in many cases broken, and certainly very much open to destruction from bombs and planes and from, frankly, storms. You see what happened, that horrible situation in Texas. And you'd be subject to that. And it's fragile, but it is old, and it can't have the capacity unless you totally rebuild it. That would take decades.
Folks, we're going to quickly cut in here to bring you some breaking news out of Tennessee. So this is Smyrna. It's a town just outside of Nashville where we've got reports of an active shooter situation that's underway at a liquor store. Not a lot of details. This literally just came in a few moments ago into the Live Impact News studio. This is apparently Lee Victory Parkway that we're looking at, with Legacy Wine and Spirits reported as the location where this active shooter situation is unfolding. Once again, not much that we can share, but you can see live images showing big police presence in that area. You can see the sign for the liquor store. Looks like it's also pretty close by to a Shell gas station. And as far as traffic impacts for folks here, we can see it looks like we've got some blockages on the roadway, not just from patrol cars. Looks like we might even have some officers that are going to be coming and going from that area along Lee Victory Parkway. We'll keep you updated as we learn more about the situation, and this will be something that we kind of watch in the background and bring back for you here during Live Impact News as we're able to. But once again, breaking news out of Smyrna, Tennessee, just outside of the Nashville area, where the police department says it is on scene of an active shooter situation at a liquor store. We'll send you back here to the Energy and AI Summit meantime, with the president making some remarks already in progress.
We brought coal back in. They won't be powered by wind because it doesn't work. I hate to say it just doesn't work. It's rather intermittent. You don't want it. Causes a lot of problems. But we have every form of fuel that you want to use for your plant, and you'll build a plant, you'll build your electric, and this way you have no excuses, because I didn't want to be the one that said, listen, we're trying to build that grid in 10 years from now, and you wouldn't be able to open. You're going to build it with your own plants. And so people heard that. They couldn't believe it, and finally now they believe it, because we have a couple that are already started, and they're building their electric plants along with their separate plant. And in fact, some of them are building the electric plant inside of their main building. So it's really exciting to see. But I was very proud of that, actually. White House AI czar David Sachs. David, thank you very much. Great job. David interviewed me on his podcast about, what's that now, 2 years ago or something in San Francisco, and I said, this guy's very smart. If I pull this sucker off, I'm going to probably hire him in some form. I got to get him in. But you've been doing great. Thank you, David, very much. Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Michael Kratsios. Michael, thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Good job. They tell me you're doing great. Thank you very much. As well as State Senate President Pro Tem Kim Ward. Kim. Thank you, Kim. Good job. Kim's very happy right now. State Senate Majority Leader Joe Pittman. Joe, thank you. And State Senator Greg Rothman. Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you. I also want to recognize your great congressmen. These are friends. These are warriors. They just passed the great, big, beautiful. See, I add the word great, I like to say, because it really was really.
Here on Live Impact News, we are moving to our 3 box. We'll continue to listen to the president speaking at this Energy and AI Summit in full, but what you're seeing on the right-hand side, up at the top, we've got a trial that we've been watching in the background here. This is a dentist accused of poisoning his wife's protein shakes in Colorado. And there were also accusations that he plotted to kill 4 other people. So the person in question here, James Craig, has pleaded not guilty to these charges. One of the charges is first-degree murder. As we hear anything developing with the situation, looks like they might be looking at some body camera footage in question of either the day or an investigation that happened, but we will dip into that in full. And in the bottom right-hand corner, the live images that we continue to watch out of Smyrna, Tennessee, with that active shooter situation. But once again, in full, we have the president speaking.
We passed a bill, but that bill, honestly, as good as it was nothing compared to this one. And the biggest thing and the biggest reason for the success was the deduction. And you're allowed to do it. And this time we're including structure, so you're able to deduct those big structures that you're building. So nobody thought that was even possible. But I want to introduce the people that did it. Dan Muser is here. Where's Dan? Dan, you? In Washington. Oh, they're in Washington working on our next bill. Good. They shouldn't be here. Now I don't have to mention their names, you know. Although they're watching on television, I guarantee you. Oh, that's right. They're working on our next one, which is coming for a vote, I think, on Friday. Wow, I'm impressed. But JT, GT Thompson, Lloyd Schmucker, John Joyce, Mike Kelly, Scott Perry, Rob Bresnahan, they're all terrific people, and Guy Reschenthaler. These are great people. They're warriors. They fought with us. They voted with us. We only had 2 negative votes. I didn't invite those 2 guys to anything. We had a guy named Rand Paul Jr. He's known as Rand Paul Jr. in the House. He always votes no. We had somebody else. I did him a big favor, and I said, well, he's not going to, sir, I don't think so-and-so is going to vote. I won't mention his name. And I said, no, he's going to vote because I did him a very big favor, very personal favor, as big as you can get, having to do with death and life. But having to do, no, he's going to vote. Don't worry about it. Okay, sir, if you tell me, but I don't think we're going to get his vote. Don't worry about it, I said. I know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. And sure as hell, he voted against this. And I said, another one down, another great move by Trump. Anyway, so much for favors. You know, it's welcome to the world of politics, right? Right, David? We know about that. But we're here today because we believe that America's destiny is to dominate every industry and be the first in every technology. And that includes being the world's #1 superpower in artificial intelligence. And we are way ahead of China, I have to say. We're way ahead of China, and the plants are starting up, the construction's starting up. And did you notice that 2 days ago they just announced that they had a budget surplus of $25 billion in this country? Right, Howard? They never saw anything like that. Everyone would say, where did that? That's been like decades, $25 billion, and that's peanuts compared to what it's. And it's good business practices. The tariffs are coming in by the hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're really at the infant stage right now. It's only on cars and steel, mostly. And the rest is starting to kick in. We just made a deal today, a big one with Indonesia, a great deal. And they've opened up Indonesia fully. You know, Indonesia really has great copper, very powerful copper, but they have a lot of things, and we have full access to Indonesia. We'll soon be announcing probably, if we do, we do. If we don't, that's okay too. I don't mind, because I'm very happy with the letters that we send out that you'll be paying X%. I almost like it better if you want to know the truth. But Scott and Howard, they like to go the old-fashioned way. Let's work hard to make a deal. I don't know. There's something about pay us 35% of everything, and we're very happy. But I think India is going to open up, and a lot of countries are going to open up. And some that don't, they'll just be paying a very substantial tariff, but peanuts compared to what they should be paying. So we have some amazing things. China and other countries are racing to catch up to America, having to do with AI, and we're not going to let them do it. We have the great chips, we have the great everything, and we're going to be fighting them in a very friendly fashion. I have a great relationship with President Xi, and we smile at the back and forth, but we are leading. I heard somebody say before that we're going to try and catch China. We're not catching them, we're leading. And one of the advantages they have is they show the electric that they have it. They're opening up coal-fired plants all over the place, and we're entitled and allowed now to do that too. We took coal, it was taken out of the chain And coal is actually a very, very powerful. I say you're not allowed to call it coal. You have to call it clean, beautiful coal. You're not allowed, John, to call it just coal because people don't understand. We call it clean, beautiful coal. But China is, I think they're going to be very far behind. Mark my words, I think they're going to be very far because we have a lot of places going up right now, and they're all going to be great. And they actually feed off each other. But remaining the world's leader in AI will require an enormous increase in the energy production, and that's taking place, and you're doing it yourself, and a massive build-out of physical infrastructure and the tremendous technology skill that Pennsylvania has. I mean, you have tremendous skill in this state. Today, the Commonwealth is reclaiming its industrial heritage and taking its place at the forefront of the AI technological revolution. And as I said before, it's an expression I used all during the campaign and screamed it out, "We'll drill, baby, drill." And people went crazy. We had big crowds, as you probably heard, biggest ever, biggest in history. The investments being announced this afternoon include more than $56 billion in new energy infrastructure and more than $36 billion in new data center projects. And a lot more than that are going to be announced in the coming weeks, not even months. I think we could say weeks, right, Howard? In the campaign, I promised that I would save the Homer City power plant 50 miles east of here that Joe Biden's Green New Scam forced to shut down. It's a Green New Scam, greatest scam in history, the greatest in history. Well, the auto pen, I think, is a bigger scam, if you want to know the truth. Actually, I do believe that. Today, we're pleased to report that a $15 billion investment from Knighthead Capital Management. Who's here from Knighthead? Well, I'm very impressed with that. $15 billion. That's pretty good. It's a great location, too. Wow. That's very impressive. Thank you very much. That's a big number, huh? It's a big number, and yet it's peanuts relative to what it would get. That's a good job. But the Homer City site is being resurrected as the largest natural gas-fired power plant ever to be built in North America. Is that right, huh? That's fantastic. As another